Greetings and salutations, old friends and new friends, and welcome back to Truthseekers, where we explore the strange, the mysterious, the esoteric in the world. Tonight, I've got a very special UFO report planned for you. I've been keeping my head on certain things in the UFO community and doing a great deal of research into several different stories. But I thought it would be helpful, even therapeutic for me, to talk to some other researchers and find out what they're working on, what stories they're following on, or things that they think are important. So tonight we've got a very, very special guest. You may have seen him on Erica Luke's show. He's the co-host of UFOs Declassified. He has his own separate sort of report show called In the Field and has been investigating and interested in and studying UFOs for much longer than I. So, friends, we're going to bring him in here. Welcome, Scott Browne.
Hey, thanks, Steve, for having me.
Yeah, good to finally speak to you in person. And we have corresponded. We've shared some research materials. We've followed. We were both following this Travis Walton thing, and you did a much better job than I did covering that because you got the guy who was basically the proof that it was all a hoax on your show. What do you think of the Travis Walton? Can you talk a little bit about your experience with sort of revealing that as being one big hoax?
Yeah, that was a complete accident. Mike Rogers, the guy who was driving the truck, was a guest because I believed what he was saying about the whole phone call being manipulated, and I didn't really know too much about it, so I wanted to hear what Mike had to say. Told Erica, she was like, "It's we're good to go. Let's do it." And we got him on the show, and in the meantime, as it was leading up to the day of the show, I had said something about the phone call being manipulated on Twitter. Next thing you know, I get this 2-page email explaining everything from Ryan Gordon. So I'm like, holy shit, who is this guy? So that's it all started. And then as I began to look at it and there's still things that he can't release to the public, and I wish that I could talk about that would just close the whole thing down. But unfortunately, he doesn't want to get sued, and there's certain legal things, and but I mean after I looked at everything, it was open and shut for me. It was the glue that held it together for so many years was the 5 guys that never recanted their story. And so that for me was solid, especially for 40 something years. And I thought, there's no way that these guys, they're not benefiting from it. So why the hell would they go along with a lie? It's got to be true. Not thinking that it's possible that these 5 guys were fooled by the other 2. And I never thought of that. So, Of course, going back through the documents, I saw Ray Fowler had the same theory back in the 70s. In the early 2000s, Carl Flock, the researcher, he also had the same theory that the 5 guys were fooled by the other 2, which would lead them to have a convincing testimony when they were questioned, and the whole thing got pulled off.
Yeah, and it was interesting that Mike Rogers and Travis Walton seem to recently have a dispute over money, right? And so when the money wasn't right, Mike Rogers starts saying this was a hoax. This is how we hoaxed it, or I don't. First, he said, "Oh, I don't support anything Travis says anymore." Then he started saying, "Oh no, this whole thing was a hoax, and here's how it was done," and spilling the beans. And then Travis and him got together, and the money got right with Mike Rogers again. So now he's suddenly back on the Travis Walton is telling the truth camp.
No, he's back at it again, and he just posted on Facebook today saying that that none of the guys believe Travis. He's full of shit. He went into this long tirade on Facebook today, and same old thing. He's doing it again. It's
Oh, that's great. That's
back
great.
and forth, back and forth, you know.
Oh yeah, and it's Mike Heston Rogers on Facebook, I think, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's you know, I mean, I look at it this way, the guy,
Oh wow! Wait, we got to share this because you're right. This is juicy. This is one of the original witnesses to,
yeah,
the one of the linchpins to the story being true for 30, 40 years. Mike Heston Rogers, and here he is on Facebook. And boy, this is what he has to say. This event in late September of 1970 is the happening where Travis Walton didn't get abducted. No way, no how, no cigar. I was driving my lime green Dodge Charger west out of Snowflake, and 8 miles further, we beheld the spherical light, which then, by utter surprise, shone a very bright light down in the highway out before us. The rest of the story is in the book. I am dangerously close to finishing. So I guess that's another cash in on his. And
yeah,
it's the
the
story
post,
just changed completely, according
yeah,
to
the
him.
post where he talks about the five guys not believing, it's farther down, and it's a comment on another post that I was commenting on.
Okay, I'll look for that. In the
Yeah,
meantime,
and
we can.
he just,
Yeah.
says he lists all their names, Ken Peterson and, all of them, and none of them believe Travis. They all think he's a liar. You know, it's just
Wow.
back and forth.
And he's
You know,
selling autographed prints of pictures of the abduction, even though he
the
says it was
paintings.
fake.
Yeah, the
But he'll
paintings.
still that abduction was fake. But I'll still sell you autographed print
Yeah,
of an art print from that abduction case. That's so
yeah.
bizarre. Isn't that
I
bizarre?
mean, hey, he knows that with certain people he can still ride it and cash in on it. So I mean, these guys are like, they know they're full of shit, but
Yeah, and he's pumping there's a documentary of our encounter in 1975 on the Travel Channel sometime within the next 31 days.
yeah,
So
yeah,
he's still pumping it, and he's got paintings that he's sold. Jeez,
yeah,
he's selling paintings of the aliens and Travis, but then he's saying it didn't happen.
yeah.
He's,
He did the original. He painted the original book cover for Travis's book.
oh, well, that is interesting. I never knew that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
but I just think it's
pretty
bizarro
dark.
land. Like he's saying this is all fake. And look, these two paintings were recently sold for $3,000. That leaves 7 of my paintings yet to be sold. If you have the money, the most important paintings, the covers to the Walton Experience and Fire in the Sky, the Walton Experience, can be yours. Contact me by Facebook Messenger or email me. Jeez, that's bizarre.
And
Autographed prints now available, and we can look at the prints. That's the Fire in the Sky.
and
And yeah.
even if it's for some of us it's bullshit. It's still a historical painting. It's still someone's gonna
Oh
buy.
yeah, I think I would very much like to have the original painting of the book Fire in the Sky hanging in my basement. I don't know that I could afford it. I don't think I would pay that much of what it would go for, but I can understand the interest in it. Sure, I guess.
Yeah,
Right.
if you scroll down to that comment, that's right below the one in blue. It's underneath that, I believe. It's in those comments.
Youngest son. No, this is something about
No,
his
no, keep going back up.
son.
You're going down too far. Right
I,
there, I
I
have
have so many
somebody.
things to say about everything to say in my life, but for now, I should say very little or nothing. Okay. People are telling him to spill the beans. You should write your own book. Like this book I am presently working on. So now he's working. Oh, look, astounding adventures with close encounters.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm trying to see where did he say all this stuff that I don't know.
Maybe that's not the one.
Or maybe he deleted it. I will take your word for it. He's saying a lot of stuff. He's been saying a lot of stuff on his Facebook about this stuff. So that's enough of that. We're citing fair use. We're sharing his public Facebook, so I think that's perfectly permissible. But I still want to cite fair use. We're educating the public about the story of Travis Walton. And
yeah, unbelievable, man. It was unreal.
somebody's saying I'm
probably
having audio issues. Is there really audio issues, or is it one person is experiencing
well,
audio issues?
I noticed too, Steve, every so often your mic will like click or it's doing something weird.
Yeah, I apologize. I don't
It's
know what
not
that is.
it's not doing it now though, but it was doing it before.
Oh, I adjusted the level, so maybe that's what it was. Maybe it
Oh,
was overdriven and clicking. So I apologize to all the audio files out there. It geez, it's a live show. We do warts and all. What are you
yes.
smoking? A cigar there?
No, no, it's a,
Vape?
nicotine vape pen. Yeah,
Yeah, I got to switch. Man, I vaped for years, and for some stupid reason, I went back to cigarettes, and now I'm having a real hard time getting back to the vapes because
yeah,
it seems like they changed a lot since I was vaping before. And
yeah,
now, where I am, unless you go to a specialty shop, you can only get mint and tobacco flavored, which is terrible. They're terrible. It doesn't taste anything like a cigarette. It's
yeah,
terrible.
yeah. So
You
I'm in
know,
Massachusetts. So if I want something like a flavor, I got to drive to Connecticut.
that is so stupid. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. I
it's
used to smoke like blueberries and cream and weird
yeah,
stuff like that,
yeah,
And now you can't because the government decided that, you can't.
yeah.
I don't understand it. So what do you think of the business as usual after all these revelations in the Travis Walton case? It seems like Travis and his buddies like Jimmy Church and Richard Dolan just sort of closed ranks and like helped him manage this nightmare for him that it was all a hoax. And then I just saw recently Travis is right back at the UFO conferences,
Yep.
just like nothing happened. Like none of this information came out, and none of his so-called witnesses ever recant it, and he's still at those UFO conferences, like
Yeah, well,
collecting dollars.
I mean, it's funny too because no matter how many times that different researchers over the years attacked the case, okay, I won't say attacked, but tried to throw a new theory at it about how it was pulled off. There was never any kind of like campaign, run by Travis to go out and like go against these people until Ryan Gordon came along.
You used to ignore those things.
Yeah, I mean, it
But
just
I think that before it was really more like theories and very well informed, sometimes very well researched theories. But this stuff that came out recently is literally the the total proof that it was all faked. His witnesses are coming out and saying no, it was faked, or this didn't happen, that didn't happen, and we've got recorded phone calls where his buddy is saying it was all a hoax. This
right.
is some serious evidence that it was all faked for money.
And there's other weird things too, like the day of the abduction when they were out working in the woods. Travis and Mike disappeared for a while. Then they denied it later on and they said that never happened. But the other guys that were there testified that they took off for a while. And supposedly Travis was sick and he was lying in the truck. So the theory is that they went somewhere to maybe talk about, what time
Mm-hmm.
they were going to do it, how they were going to go, whatever. That's the theory. So, but they still both deny it, you know. And there's been other times where I think a couple of interviews where they did actually admit it. Travis said he was sick in the truck. Then other times he said, "Oh, I wasn't feeling good for a little while, so I laid down." The story just changes over and over again.
Yeah, and there was also additional evidence that I suddenly became aware of because of this Charlie Weiser's research and other things. But the like his Travis Walton's childhood friend said he was obsessed with UFOs and running a UFO hoax on the town that they lived in. Like he was
Yes.
going to get balloons and put lights and flares on them and fly them to fool the town into thinking that there was alien invaders or something like that. So, that coupled with recorded phone calls of his partner for a long time saying, yeah, we hoaxed it and here's what we did and here's how we did it.
Yeah.
That's overwhelming to me. And
Yes.
it's almost disappointing that like that level of evidence that this story's all fake can come out. And all these UFO conference organizers are just like, people want to hear him tell his fire in the sky story, so we're going to book him.
And I spent probably a good hour and a half on the phone with that guy, with Travis's best friend as a child.
Oh, did you? I didn't know
Yeah,
that. So could
yeah.
you tell us a little more about what he said?
So he told me, that Travis was like that. He was always trying to pull pranks on people, and there was a certain time during their teenage years when um, Travis wanted to, I think, attach flares to balloons to fool the neighborhood into thinking it was UFOs. Um, and he said he was always trying to come up with something to mess with people. And he said as soon as he saw the story, that it was breaking, he was like, "You got to be shitting me."
He finally pulled
Because
off his big UFO hoax,
yeah,
right?
because this guy, Kelly Waldrop is his name. He moved away from there. He became a CIA or FBI. He's worked for Homeland Security. There's pictures of him online with, I think Reagan. Um, what's his name there? I forgot his name. Head of the CIA. There's a
So
bunch
it
of
seems to be a pretty credible guy then as a
Yeah,
witness.
he runs his own detective company out there. He actually just moved back and he runs his own detective company, and he's the guy's got credentials coming out his ears. And he said he had a buddy of his that he worked with, and the guy came to him and he said, "Aren't you friends with the guy who's claiming that he got taken by a UFO?" And he said, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "They just came out with a movie about it called Fire in the Sky." So Kelly Waldrop went and looked, and he was like, "Holy shit." And he realized that Travis finally pulled it off, but for a much bigger audience, you know. And
Yeah, millions of
he
people
was
saw that
very,
movie.
very honest with me, very open. He said, if I have any questions, come back to him. I have his phone number,
Well,
and
that's great. Yeah,
it was it
because
was
somebody mentioned that, oh, that's hearsay, but I don't think it is if the guy's agreeing to let you use what he says, right? Like that's not hearsay, that's
yeah,
testimony of a
yeah.
witness.
So if you go back to, I think it's Kurt Jamungle from the Theories of Everything podcast.
Hmm.
He had Travis on. They put Kelly Waldrop's quote right on the screen. They put the text right on the screen. I went and found it because of that. Then I looked up his company. I found the telephone number.
You went and tracked him down, right?
That was
Yeah.
it. And as soon as I started telling him who I was, he goes, "Oh yeah, you know what? Let's talk for a while. Give me a call like in a couple days." I said, "Okay." So I called him back and we sat there and shot the shit for like an hour and a half. And Travis admitted it right on the show that Kelly was his best friend. They parted. You can go back and watch the
Yeah,
podcast.
I remember hearing all about
Yeah,
it.
he
Yeah.
talks all about him. And then he says, "Well, Kelly's wrong," and he, denies it anyways. I mean,
Yeah, and there was another part of this Travis Walton story is in that he told some kind of strange he got abducted again with his girlfriend story once
yes,
upon a time, and that the aliens stole the baby. So then for
yes,
some reason he takes the girl to Dr. Roger Lear, who is the alien implant person. He's not a gynecologist. He was a podiatrist, but he was interested in aliens. So I guess
right,
Travis took her to him, and he confirmed that the baby was taken from the womb. That's what Travis said some time ago.
yes,
On Kurt's show, and I asked the questions about that, but on Kurt's show, he walked that way back and tried to minimize Roger Lear's involvement in this thing.
right.
Dude,
And
that's another bizarre part of the story. And it's like, okay, so you were abducted a second time, and the second time they stole your baby? Like, that's a crazy story.
yeah,
And he
baby,
did tell that story, and
yeah,
now he's sort of denying that he told the story, but he somewhat acknowledged the story on this one interview. It's
yeah,
bizarro land.
baby Jonas. It was baby Jonas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he was abducted, and then the aliens, they think, took his girlfriend's baby, and I mean, the story goes on and on and on.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know that it's relevant, but some people were attacking him because that girlfriend was his girlfriend at the time, not his wife. That was like an extramarital girlfriend that he got pregnant. I think I heard that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's relevant, but
You
I
know,
do know that it's relevant that he failed several lie detectors because people like to say he passed, but he failed a few too. So
right.
I don't think that evidence is valuable in the case if it's like, okay, so he passed some and he failed others, like he failed that one on national television pretty badly, trying to win money for his story again. It's all
Yeah,
about
he went
the
on that game
Benjamins.
show. He lost on the game show.
Well, I think he still won $15,000 for what they were, what he could pass from the lie detector.
Yes,
Like they
yes.
let up the questions, but he didn't get the grand prize or something like that. It is kind of sad though to see that story unravel because that's one that I grew up with, and I watched that movie and I was terrified of aliens. After that, that movie is a little bit terrifying when it comes to the scene, where they're like strapping him down and all this stuff, and he's in this weird spaceship, and these aliens are like, you know, it was a better movie than Communion, that's for sure.
Oh,
That
it's horrible, horrible.
movie was horrible. Even
Yeah,
Christopher Walken couldn't save that movie,
yeah.
right?
They should just redo that over. That sucks, man.
Maybe they
You
will
know,
someday,
but
given the remakes,
the thing is too, is that when we first started having, behind the scenes meetings with Ryan Gordon, and he started walking us through all of this stuff. Erica, I, and Mario, who does a lot of work behind the scenes on the show, we were all just devastated because we too were invested in the case. I thought it was a legitimate case all these years, and it sucked. And we were like, are we going to do this or not? And
you
Erica said, we have to. We've got to bring this to the public because Mike is claiming the phone call was manipulated. He's absolutely lying. That phone call was not manipulated. And one of the pieces of proof for that is moments before the phone call, he texted Ryan Gordon and he said, I have a secret to whisper in your ear. And
Yeah.
this was moments before the phone call. Ryan sent me all those text messages. I have all of it.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
crazy.
think Mike was ready to spill the beans, but then he kind of walked back from it. And, then there was a falling out between, the deal that Travis had with Ryan, and it turned into kind of legal stuff, and it just fell apart, you know. So Ryan was kind of offended that Mike was saying he was lying. No matter what Ryan has showed us or any questions we have had, that guy has been absolutely honest with us
And transparent, yeah.
and just showed us everything, everything. And he showed us even the things that we can't put on the air, which, like I said, would shut and lock this thing, no problem. But
You think? Yeah, he did. He
unfortunately,
showed me some of that evidence too, and I was like,
yeah,
"Oh God, please let me use this," but he can't for legal reasons.
yeah, and I want to use it so bad, but we can't do anything about it.
Well, you can't blame the guy if there's going to be legal repercussions for
Yeah,
him sharing something. He's got to keep that.
yeah,
And it's interesting that he has that, and he may decide to release it at some point when he feels like he's not in legal jeopardy over releasing it, right?
right. I hope so. I hope he does, because it would just be total vindication.
Yeah, and we have a comment from Blinken Liar says Team Travis said Mike was suffering from the onset of dementia. I've heard that. Do you think that's a valid excuse? And you talk to him. Do you feel that he's suffering from dementia, or does he appear to have all his marbles?
Um, you know, I'm not going to say Mike is not getting on in years. He's getting older, but the guy is still sharp as a tack. And I don't, that whole dementia thing is just a bunch of crap.
I
I
think
mean,
it's an excuse. Yeah.
yeah, it's not, the thing is, when you hear him, when you talk to him like in private messages or directly, the guy's not a dummy. He's still pretty sharp. So, I can't. I can't go along with that. But another thing I wanted to say was, if people just go back, find a lot of the interviews that Travis has done online and watch them from years ago up until now very carefully, and you will see the different aspects of the story have changed over the
He's
years.
got several iterations, like
Yeah.
retcons, where he adds little thing. And I've always thought that's because of UFO disease. And UFO disease is an affliction that I invented, but it's a very real phenomenon and thing that many people suffer from. You come up with a UFO story, you start getting paid to appear at conferences, you go, you tell your story, but unfortunately, after a few years, people get sick of that story, and you need new material. So then you have to either retcon the story, or suddenly you get new memories, right? Or like Travis at one conference told the story, he got abducted again with his girlfriend. You have to continually expand the lie to keep the UFO dollars rolling in. That's UFO disease. You see the UFO dollars, your story's getting old. People are getting less interested because they've heard it so many times. We need a new updated story. You're right. There is a definite change. Like he added little parts, even as recently as a few years ago. He added this part where he decided that they injured him with the laser by accident or something, and they took him aboard the ship, and it took them 7 days to regenerate him and help him and work on him, and they before they could return him, and they felt obligated to fix him because they shot him with a laser gun.
Yes,
That's a new part of the story that he never mentioned before.
Yeah, it's and there's little things like that. You pick them up, and if you go back and you watch, like, let's say, the interview, the podcast he did with Joe Rogan,
Yeah,
and
that
if
was a
you
good one.
watch that, virtually every time he answers a question, he will not make eye contact with Joe Rogan. He keeps looking away from him every single time he answers. He will not look him in the face. And he waffles on some of the stuff, and people say the same thing about him, that he's getting older and he's forgetting the aspects of the story. And I mean, you can believe what you want to believe, but I'm firmly convinced that these guys used that tower to pull that off. I'm firmly convinced.
And we should just mention, for anybody not familiar, there was a watchtower, a fire watchtower, that it is now alleged by Mike Rogers and maybe one more person in that party of original witnesses that they lit up that tower, and that was the UFO that the witnesses saw. And then Travis disappeared. Maybe he ran off into the woods for all we know. I don't know. But they used a fire watchtower to simulate that's just above the tree line. They lit it up, shot a beam out from it, and it just so happens that that fire tower has colored spotlight beams that they use for signaling. So they'll have a red one that means this, they'll have a blue one that means this. In Travis' story, it was a blue beam of light that hit him from the UFO.
Yeah.
It could be very convincing that you see this thing lit up and it's glass, and it was just as they described it. It matches the fire tower, and it's got a blue spotlight on it that could shine down.
Right.
So, yeah, pretty convincing evidence of an anatomy of you got to almost give them some respect for the ingenuity to create $1 million scam, like $1 million story. They just invent.
Honestly, I think that it started out as a prank just to win that Inquirer money. And then once it exploded, they saw how much it grew, and they were like, we can't backstep on this now because it's got a life of its own, and they just let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and it was what people don't realize too is that, like, I don't know what the average UFO conference appearance speaking fee is, but I've been told for Travis it's anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 or more for him to go somewhere and talk for 2 hours. Is thousands of dollars for a few hours work. I mean, that's to me, that's a motive to continue the story and to continue and keep the lie going. I'm going to get thousands of dollars. We're talking about a working class man that was a logger. And for those who don't know, I don't know what it's like to be a logger, but I know what it's like to process firewood. And it is terrible, hard, back-breaking work. Imagine doing that 8 hours a day. And then suddenly, instead of breaking your back to make, let's say, $1,000 in a full-on week of breaking your back and your body, you can go to a UFO conference and talk for 2 hours and make 2 or 3 times as much as you used to make in a week. To me, that's a motive, right? And then we got a book deal. Now we're selling the rights to the Hollywood movie. I think there have been documentaries, right? And they probably paid him for his participation in those documentaries.
Yeah,
he's been in a bunch of different documentaries where I'm sure they paid him to appear in them and tell parts of his story. And he's got this UFO conference money coming in. We've got Mike Rogers selling $3,000 alien paintings for an event that he says is now a hoax.
Yeah. And I believe they're now selling they're kind of like collectible cards, and he's autographing them. and it has the
Travis Walton trading cards, man.
Yes, exactly. And it has the different scenes that Mike painted, the different scenes of the sequence of events.
That's what the cards are. That's great. Jeez. Yeah, I think that money has I think you're right. I think they originally were just out for that prize money. And then once they saw the amount of money, and it would appear that Travis has had to do this balancing act, breaking off some of that money to give to the witnesses so that they keep going and agreeing with him so that he can keep going and making the money. But it appears that Mike Rogers and him had this, financial falling out, and Mike felt like Travis was being greedy because there's no story without his confirmation of the story. Suddenly the story is fake. And he starts spilling the beans. I have a secret to whisper in your ear. Yeah.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. But you know what? You're and I tell people, because I know there's still people out there. We took a lot of flack from, some
yeah, so did I. And I did 1/10 of the coverage that you did on this thing.
I was getting private messages from some pretty well-known researchers, telling me you're going to ruin your reputation and don't do that. And you're
going to ruin your reputation. Tell people the truth. Right?
And I said, you know what? I can't stand back and look at what's in front of me and say, you know what? I'm just going to dismiss all of that. I just can't.
Yeah, it's funny. I think the whole thing was kind of funny. And I've had the same kind of stuff when I have irrefutable proof that something is fake or that the story was hoaxed or that this person is absolutely 100% lying. And then people still argue with me. They'll say, oh, I did stories on Stephen Greer, and they're like, he's very well respected for all his work for disclosure. I'm like, I don't care. I've got irrefutable proof here that he's lying through his teeth. I'm not just going to sit here with that. I'm going to tell people,
Yeah. I mean,
but isn't there, listen, this circus very well. There is like an unwritten rule among many of these so-called researchers and people that appear at these UFO conferences. And it kind of goes like, don't ruin my UFO con with facts and evidence, and I'll stay out of your UFO. They don't comment on each other's cons. They all work together. It's one big happy family. It's a big group, Scott Browne, and we ain't in it. We ain't in it. No. We are not getting these UFO dollars. I can't get $2,000 to talk for an hour at a conference.
No,
I would probably be so hated. I would show up and I would do a slideshow presentation on all the fake stuff in ufology for 2 hours straight, and with a bunch of these believers hating my guts,
Yeah, and I
just go in there and just jizz, right, Scott Browne? Just go in there and just jizz all over it. Just jizz all over it. Like, that story, that's fake. This story, that one's fake.
And there's nothing, I mean, you're always going to have your people that are heavily invested in a case. Like I tell people, I was too, but once I looked at it critically, tried to really think about it, looked at all the stuff that Charlie Weiser had gathered, all the stuff that Ryan had gathered, going back through. I went back through one PDF that was 400 pages of newspaper articles and file, APRO files, ground saucer watch files, and looked at everything. And I said, you know what? These guys are full of shit, and they fooled those 5 guys all these years.
Yeah.
And some people still don't want to believe it. There's still hardcore believers.
There's people in the live chat right now. V is one of our big show supporters, longtime friend of the show, and she said, "I agree with Scott on almost everything, but I'm not ready to agree with him on Travis Walton." You know, some people just
and that's okay.
That's okay. It's okay to disagree. Yeah. All we can do is show everyone the evidence that we have and let people make up their own minds. My mind's made up, and I thought that the evidence was overwhelming and convincing. But for other people, they're still not yet convinced. Maybe they're holding on to the story like I did because I love the story. It's a great story.
It was, and when the movie came out, I was like blown away. And like you said, the scenes on board of the ship were just absolutely terrifying. I was like,
yeah, and I rarely go to movies in a theater. I went and saw that in the theater because I wanted to see it on the big screen with the good sound and spend $80 for popcorn and a soda, but it was worth it. It was great movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm turning to my parents. My kid wants to start going to the movies, so I got to find some movies, and then I'm going to turn to my parents and be like, jamming soda cans in my pockets and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what we do when we used to go. We used to just go.
No, I'll just spring for it because I'm too embarrassed to get caught. Like, oh no.
And you're right. I mean, it's like $150 just to go to the movies for one time.
Yeah, if me and my wife and my 2 kids go, I mean, it's $60 just for the tickets, and then it's got to be another $60 for the popcorn and the candy and all that, everything else. So
that's where they make their money, at the concession stand.
That's why I watch movies at home. I got a big projector in my living room. It's like 80-inch.
Nice.
It's nice. I got to hook up a sound system though. Maybe I'll watch Fire in the Sky on that. I haven't yet. Right? We'll have a view party. So besides this Travis Walton, that's been a big adventure for you. So I wanted to talk about that first. But we're covering and looking into this Anjali. You even contributed some of the questions. I wanted to bring your questions into her interview. First, and you can be honest, what did you think of that interview, first of all?
You know what? I watched them both. I watched Jimmy Church's, which I thought was, like a lot of people said, it was just all softball questions. He wasn't like trying to really get at her. Whereas the interview you did was much better. You were really trying to dig in there, but you kept telling her, I'm not, trying to be an ass. I'm trying to.
Yeah, that was a balancing act, Scott Browne.
And it was good though. It was good. The way you did it was really good. And I totally loved yours much better than his.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
And it has nothing to do with me thinking that he's just a dick. But
you know what though? Here's what I'll say. I've had my differences with that guy. I think he's got enough problems, and he doesn't need me saying anything negative about him. So I wish him the best of luck in all his future endeavors. And I'm gonna at least try to be the bigger man and not mention him or disparage him, even when he calls me a douche. He's having a tough time. It's all good.
So I mean, your interview was much better with her. And you really got in there, and you asked a couple of the ones that I asked, which were, and I probably shouldn't have went at her like I did because, I said this woman needs help and,
I may agree with you though, but I understand the passion that you start seeing some of her claims and you go, this woman's maybe delusional. She may be schizophrenic. She may be having a psychotic breakdown here. She needs help. And that was one of my theories was mental illness. And the other big theory that I have, and I don't know, maybe it's because I did DMT and saw a purple being, right? I have friends that did DMT and saw a purple being. You can go on YouTube and just search in the search bar DMT purple being. Almost everybody that does DMT experiences this purple being. Some people, it's a purple lady. Some people, it's a purple man. To some people, it's Vishnu, the Hindu god that's purple, right? To some people, it's a purple alien. To some people, it's a purple interdimensional being. I've read one account where the guy thought it was a purple dragon being, you know?
Wow.
So it's so common in DMT to experience meeting a purple being. And that's a huge part of her story, is the purple being that she claims is an alien that she met. And so I think either knowingly or unknowingly, she may have gotten dosed with DMT. That's my leading theory right now. And I'm concerned because she's going to take a group of people to this mountain. And if there's no DMT, none of them are seeing the aliens or the purple being. Maybe if she gets them all smoking DMT before they go in the tunnel, they'll see the aliens. And I say this with, you know, I have a lot of respect because at least she came on the show knowing my reputation for being, you know, rough on people. She was courageous enough to come here. And as long as her only requirement is that I had agreed to be respectful. Mm-hmm. And that's fair, you know. But I think this is all going to come crashing down. And by the way, there's a Twitter poll of who gets to go to the mountain. And right now I'm losing to a dead Stan Friedman. And I knew him a little bit. And Stan Friedman is right now laughing from wherever he is at Steve Campion going, I'm dead and I'm beating you in a poll, bro. I'm telling you, I know him. I know his sense of humor. He would be in stitches looking at me losing to him in a Twitter poll while he's dead, right? And I'm also losing to Stephen Bassett, which I'm a little offended by. Nothing against the guy, but I don't know how I'm losing to Stephen Bassett. But it's all good.
I was stunned that she put me in it. You know, I'm losing to Ryan Sprague.
Oh, come on, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm losing to him. So, you know.
So, I mean, don't you think that this is like, part of me is a little offended by this selection process. So basically, her selection process is a Twitter poll and a popularity contest. If you're the most popular of these UFO clown people from this UFO circus, you're going to get to go to the mountain and see the aliens. But if you're not Mr. Popular, and I didn't win any popularity contest in high school, I'm not going to win them for this. Don't you think she should pick people based on like their qualifications, their experience, their research that they've done in the past, their writing, their whatever, right? Right. That's my take.
Yeah, I was, you know, scrolling down the list. I was stunned at some of the people who got, you know, chose to be on the list. And like you said, it seems like it's just a list of kind of people that are out there in UFO Twitter, and they're always posting and talking. And, you know, I mean, there's a few people, like if Stanton Friedman was alive, you know, I think he'd be a good choice to go.
Yeah, but
you know, I mean, he had a ton of experience, very smart guy.
Yeah, nuclear physicist. I mean, he would be a good. He's a scientist. Take a good scientist like that.
Yeah, and you know, some of the people are just.
I don't know them. I don't know all the people. I don't know on the
all
list
of them either.
So I'm hoping that some of them are real scientists and stuff. But the other issue is that I've heard that she didn't even ask any of these people if they wanted to be on the list. She just put a bunch of people on the list. So she may get people winning polls that say, I can't go, I won't go, I don't want to go.
I think there's 3 or 4 that have already backed out and they don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
You know, and she never said anything to me. I mean, why would she? Her and I kind of didn't click right off the bat, you know.
It was a little bumpy.
As I'm going down the list, I'm like, why did she put me on the list? I don't get it. So to kind of,
and just so you know, somebody in the live chat said that Ryan Sprague doesn't even want to go.
I heard that. I heard he had posted somewhere that he doesn't want anything to do with it. So because of that, she chose me. I did a tribute video and I just posted it right before the show, and it's on my Twitter. It's only 1 minute and 32 seconds long, but it's got some funny parts in it. I fooled around with some animation, with some green screens, And you know, it's
Yeah, and
probably
out of all those people, Brian X is saying, out of all those people on the list, she's going to narrow it down to one person from the Twitter poll, and the rest are her picked team members, I suppose.
right. And that sounds about right. I mean, but I'm not really sure why you want to make a poll with a bunch of people and then whittle it down to one person. It's kind of doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and Pyramid Seven said she's forcing types of engagement and linking to her Twitter. Somebody else also commented that's all linked to her Twitter. I'm sorry, her LinkedIn profile, which she could be just generating clicks for her LinkedIn.
Right.
Jolly Bridgeburner says, interesting to see whose comments are being deleted every time they make one. So who has an issue with everything Daily Gaff? I don't know what's going on in the live chat. Moderators should not be deleting comments unless they are personally insulting or, homophobic, transphobic, or racist. That's our rules here. Anybody can, say whatever they want to say. Just be respectful of the other live chat participants. No personal attacks, things like that. Everything else should be left by the moderators. If you disagree with something somebody says, having a wrench doesn't give you the right to delete it. There. Okay. Lord Ludicrous Plaid says if you include skeptics in the pool, it makes it look more legit. Yeah, and notice none of the skeptics are winning the polls, though.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all the true believers, or in my case, I'm getting beaten by dead Stanton Friedman. But I'm okay with that because he would laugh about this.
By dead Stanton Friedman.
He would call me up and go, young man, I am beating you. And I'm dead. I'm dead. And I'm still doing better than you, bro. He would. He had a good sense of humor. He would. I'm telling you, he's laughing somewhere, knowing that he's beating me in a poll on Twitter as he's, in heaven or, Shangri-La, wherever he is. I hope he's someplace good. Good guy. I miss him.
Yeah.
I am hiding Hector's. Okay.
Somebody put the link to my video in the chat room.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yeah.
Mojave Mountain Transcension. I don't know that I could get it from here. I have to get it from the actual. Oh, it's on your Twitter, right? I can go over there to get it.
Yeah.
I'll get it over there. Yeah. So this seems like, I've heard this whole thing of UFOs being called, a circus, and I think that it is.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's definitely a circus, and I'm getting called a circus ringleader lately because I'm hosting her, and people have this mistaken belief that just because I host a guest, I believe everything they say, and I'm backing them. It's a balancing act here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of like this where, Erica and I always talk during the week before the show. And, we just feel that as time goes on and more shows are being made, that we kind of treat it like journalism, instead of bearing down on these people, just ask them the hard questions, try to get them to answer certain things.
Oh, I'm on your Twitter. This is brilliant, and I have to share it. Scott's got a fun animation, right? I have the right one, right? So in honor of being chosen to participate in the Mojave Mountain Transcension Project Expedition Team, here is my contribution to the dance party in the desert. Speaking of a circus, Scott Browne, look what Scott Browne did. Oh, this is beautiful. I love it. I love it, Scott Browne. And we're going to cite fair use, even though the author of this is here. We have your permission to play this, right?
Absolutely.
All right, here we go. phone. Oh no. That made my day. Thank you. That's
Yeah,
so
I was just
good.
fooling around with green screens and different things.
I've done that myself. I've got a bunch of dancing girls. That's what I, used to make my intros out of. But apparently
I
YouTube.
remember those. I remember those.
It's funny though, YouTube, now that we're monetized, they flag them for bare nipples and bare
No
breasts.
way.
Yeah, they do. Almost every time I play it, the YouTube
Oh my
flags me for bare breasts in my video. And I'm like, they're not bare breasts. They got clothes, someone got bikini tops, but they got clothes, They're not
wow.
naked. I don't
Wow.
know. So I don't know if I'm gonna redo those or something, right? Black them out, right? So let me ask you a serious question. I really want to know the answer to this because I haven't decided what would I do if I won this whole Twitter thing and I was the one selected to go, because I'd have to like get on a plane and I guess pay for the plane myself and the hotel or whatever. I'd at least be out there for a day or two probably, to find out if those aliens are really there. I don't think they're there. And it's, so for me it would be a hard decision, like, do I really want to spend all this money to go out there and not see anything? But then I would kind of want to be the witness to see how this all comes crashing down, right?
Yeah.
So if you're selected, where are you at in the country, and are you going to actually go?
I'm in Massachusetts.
Also, it's a big plane ride for you too. Yeah, I'm in
Yeah,
Pennsylvania.
so I mean, for me, it's not really a question of if I would go or not. I don't put much faith, well, really any faith in the story at all. I'm so used to these people coming forward in the community over and over and over again that it's not for me. I respect the fact that she chose me to go on the list, and I don't have any ill
Especially
will.
after you were kind of harsh towards her, and so was I. In fairness, I was very
Exactly.
harsh towards her, and
Exactly.
what's funny is I took a lot of flack for apologizing to her, but the reason I apologized is because I said things before I knew what I was talking about. I said like her education, that's going to turn out to be fake. She didn't work for the DIA. Her employment history is probably fake. This girl's probably a total fraud, just making up this story. Because at the beginning, that's what it looked like. She was starting a documentary, writing a book, and all this stuff. I thought it was a big money grab.
Right.
And then I looked into some of the stuff and said, well, I was wrong about this, this, and this. So I thought it was appropriate to apologize. And I thought that would set the tone for the interview. Like, look, I'm not your enemy. I made a mistake. I said things about you that were untrue. So I apologize, and let's dig into the story now, respectfully. I thought it was okay.
And it went great. I mean, the interview was great.
I think I stand by it, and I stand by my decision to do it, right? Regardless of the flack that you get, you can't please everybody here.
Good. I think it was real good. Another problem for me is I really wouldn't be able to afford to fly out there anyways, even if it was, I got the go ahead and everything. And, so that's kind of working against me, but,
yeah, me too. I mean, a plane ticket right now to me would be a huge amount of money, and the
yeah,
hotel. And then also, I have an autistic son that I generally take care of when he's not in school, so, and it's his situation is that you can't just get a babysitter for 3 days for him.
right.
It would have to be a close family member. We'd have to organize this whole thing of how to make sure he's taken care of while I'm gone for a few days. And then to me, it's like, is it worth it? When I think it's going to be it's going to be the biggest letdown, I think. For there's a lot of people that believe her, and I think they're all going to be very, very disappointed. It's going to come crashing down. No aliens.
It's going to be Al Capone's fault all over again, man.
Look at Walter Bosley is in the live chat, proving that we will let anybody in our live chat, even Walter Bosley. We even let former intelligence people. Spooks. He's a company man. He's a spook.
I listen to Walter's show. He's got a pretty good show.
Scott Browne, he's an intelligence asset and probably working for the CIA, spreading disinformation about those aliens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know where. So, what do you think she's going to do when there's no aliens? She's just going to slip, like like sneak away and get out of the spotlight, or is she going to double down with excuses for why there's no aliens, like they left, or we weren't spiritually advanced enough, so they didn't want to talk to these people that I brought, or
Well, you saw her post a couple weeks ago, right? Where somebody asked her, I can't remember exactly what the question was, but her response to it was, I now believe that the doorway may have been dimensional.
that means it's not physical or real, right?
Right. So, I mean, I think it's kind of like already setting it up to have a way to get around it or get out of it. I mean,
Either that, or she has to figure out a way to aerosolize DMT, right? Like if they could get a tank and it had oxygen that was infused with DMT and get people in the tunnel, and then you just turn on the tank and everybody's getting dosed, and then they're all starting, whoa, I'm starting to see a purple alien,
Yeah.
That was my, and I'm saying that jokingly, but like I really did think that, like maybe that's the plan, and that would be nefarious. But UFO cults have done some strange things in the past, right? So it's not that
It's
crazy of an idea.
no, it's not out of the question at all, especially with, the things that have gone on in the past. I mean, Christ, how many dozens of whacked out UFO religions around the world and gurus. And I'm not saying that she's setting out to do that, but a
Sounds
lot
it
of
to me, though. It does sound like it to me.
it
She's
it does. But a lot of the stuff that she, writes on Twitter and she talks about, it's like all old rehashed new age stuff that people have done before.
it's all rehashed stuff from Eastern religion and
Yeah,
Buddhism and the Law of One,
yeah,
and the Urantia book. They all have the same. It seems to me that a lot of these new age people are all drinking from the same well of source material, and they just sort of modify it to fit their story. you
right,
know
right.
and I mean, there's interesting that there's a lot of fake spiritual gurus out there, and we covered one called Jason Shirka, and he's teaching people Kabbalah, but he's not saying it's Kabbalah. He took the Kabbalah teachings, many of them, and he put aliens in the place of the God and the deities in the Kabbalah. So,
Wow.
in other words, instead of God and demons and angels, he's got higher aliens and servitor aliens. It's just
Oh,
a reworking, though, of the Kabbalah teachings, but he put aliens in it.
I think I vaguely have heard of him. But,
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking to my research partner, Dan, today, and we were discussing just that. Whereas, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying she's purposely doing it. But for some of these people that come along, they see that a large section of the UFO community is very gullible. And so, and they
Extremely
prey
gullible. Yeah.
and they prey on it. It's like anything else, like religions. It's the same thing. They prey on the gullible people, and they recognize those people. They know the ones that are going to follow, and you have the truth, and I'm going to go wherever you go and believe whatever you believe. And they recognize that they're not stupid. They figure it out and they prey on it. So for her, I mean, let's say she does, the expedition goes on and they back out for some reason. The dimensional doorway didn't open or the aliens left or some other excuse. I think she's just going to keep moving the goalposts down the road like most of them do, and just keep saying, okay, well, on this date, they've promised to meet me in this spot, or they're going to make themselves known, and it's just going to keep going and going and going. Eventually she's going to write a book. They're going to make a documentary about her, so
Yeah. I thought that she was somewhat of a unicorn, though, Scott Browne. And here's what I mean. It's so often that these people come out, and then when you start looking into their background, the background falls apart. in her case, at least her employment and her military and the things that she was saying that she did in the past and her education, it all seems to check out as real, which makes her somewhat rare because usually the fake education or no, you didn't really work where you said you worked, or, there's always this murkiness of whether their background is real or not. In her case, it was real. And the other thing that I thought made her a unicorn is that she gave a hard date for, like, I'm going to bring you the proof by this date. They never do that because that has backed her. I think that has backed her into the corner somewhat here, because I mean, we're on October 12th. She's got, less than 90 days. She's got 80 something days here to deliver the proof of aliens in this mountain.
Well, I mean, that gives her a level of credibility. Her background being what it is, some people look at that and they go, whoa, this person's got some serious credibility. I'm going to listen to this. I'm going to pay attention to it.
But I don't know that that's the case, though, because her DIA employment seems to have been, she was essentially an administrative assistant in the DIA for higher ups, so because she was typing letters and things like that, but I don't know that that makes her very credible as a source of information. But you're right. People hear Defense Intelligence Agency, you work for the DIA and you're talking about aliens? This must be true, right?
Yeah.
Or the aliens, the government's covering it up, and you were in the DIA and the government's covering it up somehow.
Yeah, I mean, not for me so much, but I mean, certain people in the community, they'll look at that and they'll go, holy shit, this woman is like really who she says she is, and she worked in the government. And, I mean, look at, some of the other people out there that have come forward that have had some kind of credibility, in another field, and they come forward and that's it. That for some people is enough. And they see that and they go, this person's got to know what they're talking about. Look where they came from. Look at their background. When in fact, that really doesn't have any bearing on it at all. I mean, this person could still be coming forward with bullshit, even though they have a ton of credibility. It's just doesn't have any.
Yeah, but to me, the fact that her background doesn't fall apart under scrutiny was interesting to me because it was a rarity. And I've seen so many people's background just completely fall apart, specifically usually their military claims. But maybe it's just me because I looked into way too many wackadoo super soldiers and things that claimed they were Marines, and then you find out they were never in the Marines, or claimed they were Navy SEALs for a secret SEAL team that doesn't exist. Because there's a roll of everybody that's a SEAL. There's a list you can get of everybody who becomes a SEAL. And this guy's not on it. And then he starts saying, oh, but that's a secret SEAL team, so I wouldn't be on the list, right? They whitewashed my records, or so in her case, I went, at least she's telling the truth about some parts of her story. Where I part with her and my belief that she's telling the truth is with the mountain and the aliens. Okay, you're bad. And people also they attack me for that. People are out there saying, Steve said because her background is real, we should believe her. No, but I'm more inclined to believe somebody whose background doesn't fall apart, or give them the benefit of the doubt before I say they're a fraud or their story's fake.
Right.
And the other thing is, she hasn't yet gotten to the level that I think this is a scam. She backpedaled and said, no book, no documentary, and I don't want to make any money. That's where she's at now. So if that changes, then my opinion will change.
She did actually make her book that she had for sale, the novel she wrote, she made it for free. And she said she was going to do that, and she did it, which I was kind of impressed with that.
Yeah, and Walter Bosley is asking me about a DD-214. She told me she was going to give it to me. Apparently, she gave it to Jimmy Church, but not to me. So we looked at other documents that she provided, and then determined that the military documents that she provided were genuine, and then called and made several phone calls to verify the documents she sent me were real and military records, and to verify her enlistment date, and I don't know what you call that, when she got out. And those dates that she gave me, I was told were accurate. So
Yeah, her discharge.
discharge, yeah. So I verified military service in other ways. I'm going to ask her again now that I've just been reminded to. She offered to give me the DD-214. I'd like to see it and see what, because the DD-214 will shed a whole lot more light on what she actually did, where she was stationed, what her responsibilities were at each place that she worked in within the military industrial complex and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if she's, done all these things and has this credibility in the government, and, that's all fine and good. But I mean, everybody knows, and she's admitted it to the public, that she's had a lot of health problems over the last few years. And she, came down with the couple of the immunity disorders, I believe, and she was hospitalized a few times. And that, I mean, that sucks. And I don't wish that on anybody. But I mean, is the stress from all of that like taking its toll on her mind? Is it causing her to kind of build this fantasy world and live within it? I mean,
Yeah, it
I
could be escapism, and a
yeah,
delusional fantasy is
I
an
questioned
escape for
all
some
of that.
people. Hmm.
Exactly. And you never know. I mean, the human mind, it does weird shit.
Especially in the cases of trauma and things like that, it does
Yeah,
strange things to protect the psyche, right?
yeah. I mean,
Uh, yeah,
what if something traumatic happened to her when she went out to this ranch or this mountain and she blocked it out by coming up with this story? I mean, I'm not saying that that's what happened, but there's other examples of that all down through society where people have thought one thing happened and then realized years later that they built up this fake scenario around it to block it out so they didn't have to think about it. So,
yeah, yeah, and and also, I mean, this whole situation is weird. People are saying, "Well, I know where the mountain is, so I can crash the party," but it's private. Uh, it's private property. I can't just walk onto somebody's private property
yeah.
uninvited. That would be a crime. And I have children, and yes, Walter, St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it this way. If it was my private property, I don't want people walking into my yard, or I live.
Yeah, and I mean, this guy has a 100-acre compound though, with the
Yeah,
mountain in back of a mansion, and oh, and that's another thing. She did kind of. I think she had a little bit of a freak out when she realized that I did know the exact location of the mountain, and I did know her friend Wayne, and she started tweeting stuff like, "There's armed guards, and there's
I saw
perimeter
that.
fencing, and
Yeah, yeah,
there's all this security, and you can't walk on there, and people will be
yeah.
prosecuted if they." Because she thought I was going to dox him and just put it on the internet where this mountain was, and she had a little bit of a freak out, and then she sort of calmed down when I told her, okay, just like let's talk about this. I'm not going to release it if So we can make this. We make this deal for those that don't know. I said, okay, I'm not going to release the location of the mountain or the name and address and phone number of your friend, but until you do your expedition in December, right?
Right.
But I had already given the materials, the research materials, to Erica Lukes and you. Well, I gave it to Erica Lukes. I'm not sure if she probably shared it. I assumed that she was
No,
sharing it with
no,
you.
I have not
So,
seen it.
okay, well, anyway, so all the research material that shows the satellite maps of the mountain and all the stuff about this guy, his construction companies, and his past projects. He's a real estate developer and builder, and like he'll build a whole. I don't know. Here we have something called Toll Brothers, and they buy like cornfields, and then they turn them into suburban houses that are $500,000 a piece. They'll build a whole neighborhood at once. That's what this guy does. He builds huge developments of houses. So he's super rich. He's got a mansion, and he's got a mountain behind his mansion with nature, like hiking trails go back from the back of his mansion to the mountain.
Right.
You know?
And now I'm under the impression that this guy is not like all on the same page with her. I just keep getting that impression from different things, and that he's kind of like was somewhat in the dark about what she was putting together online, so I don't know if that's true or not. It seems to be, but
Yeah, and Out of Mind is mentioning that other people have found the location. Apparently, it was super easy. And I just want to say that I don't believe that that's true, Out of Mind. I think that most got it wrong, and people are passing around about 10 different locations. And look, if somebody sends me one and says, "Is this it?" I'll tell them the truth if it is, because they found it independently. I'm not going to lie to them. But so far, I've been sent like 20 things. People are sending me satellite maps and GPS coordinates, and I just check them against what I have and say, "That's not it. That's not it." And then people are like, "Give me a hint, drop a carrot, do something." I'm here looking. Yeah. So, but if somebody else finds it, I think if me and Charlie Weiser and others have found it, then somebody else will do so as well. It's just it was luck. It was pure luck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was first failing 100 different
Yeah.
ways, and then it was pure luck.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't attribute it all to luck, because I've seen you do your due diligence with other people.
Yeah, I like to really go deep and make sure
Yeah,
that nobody can argue with me later, but that people
yeah,
still do, So I like to get 3 sources to tell me the same thing, to make the
yeah.
argument that this is true, because we have 3 on the record, good sources. You can verify the sources. And I'm also really big on, and this is something that Stanton Friedman taught me actually. I had early conversations with him when I first started my audio podcast, and I told him that I wanted to be sort of a researcher and investigator, but I don't know what I'm doing, And so one of the things that he taught me is to save all your sources, write everything down, make notes. And the most important thing about the research that you show people and the stories that you present based on that research is that you have to be able to, another researcher has to be able to go right after you, go to your sources and get the same story more or less, So that's a good researcher, because here's all the sources. Here's where I got this information. You too can go and ask them the same questions, and you'll probably get the same answers. So I'm real big on collecting those sources and keeping them for other. And I have, for those that don't know, I share anything that I have usually, unless it's a story in progress that I'm not yet finished, or a story that I'm still, but once I'm done with the story and I present my stuff, if somebody says, "Hey, whose phone number did you call?" or what, here you go. I'll give you my notes,
Yeah, it's the same way with me. I've been, I've had different other researchers share things with me, and if I give them my word that it's not going to be shared with the public, I won't go back on my word.
Yeah, me too. Because you got
This
to protect their source. If
right,
they're not going to help you again,
and the stuff with the Ryan Gordon, whole Travis Walton case, some of the stuff that he shared with us, which is the stuff he can't share with the public, is he's been good to us. He
Yeah.
for instance, just 2 weeks ago, he's down in Dulce, New Mexico, checking out the Archuleta Mesa, which is where they claim that this base is.
Yes.
And so he took a ton of, drone footage, photographs, and I
Yeah,
mean,
he was supposed to send me those, and I think he said he did send me that, and I never got it. So I have to
he,
text him. I haven't talked to him and get copies
he
of it.
sent it all to me. So I mean, if
Oh,
he
he texted me that he was sending me that, but I guess I don't know. That's
yeah,
all right.
it's absolutely stunning, the countryside out there. He took the drone up and he flew all around the mesa, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, he's inspired me to. I can't afford his kind of budget, but he has inspired me to get a cheap drone with a camera so that I can try some of that stuff.
Yeah,
I figure I'd start small with a cheap one and see if it's something I really want to invest a lot of money in, because those things the ones he's got are like crazy Hollywood quality expensive too. You
Yeah,
know, he's
I
got
mean,
really good ones.
it's beautiful HD footage. It is incredible. You know,
Yeah.
he sent me all the footage that he took over uh, the Sitgreaves Forest where the fire tower is, and he flies right over the top of the fire tower during the day, and it's absolutely beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to try to take that footage and do a simulation of what that thing would look like at night, but I haven't gotten to it. And I just clipped stuff from your original show where he showed that the
Yeah,
drone footage flying at the thing, you know, but then I had a hard time getting the night simulation to work. I thought it was going to be easy, but it wasn't, you know.
yeah, he
So far, the best thing we have is that JP, you know, the image that you did of the tower lit up with the beam
yeah,
coming out of it.
so that was actually a frame taken from the daytime footage, and we pulled it out, and then I repainted everything over in Photoshop, and I simulated everything to what it would look like at night. And you know, it's he wanted me to do it, you know, just to have an example so people could see what it looked like. We weren't trying to say, you know, this is what the tower looks like at night. It's a total simulation, but using real lights, you know, the dimming down of the colors, all of that stuff. So, um,
Yeah. Alan Fox says, I went to the site when it happened. Sad. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, if he's getting ready to put together some other stuff that he's working on right now. I don't know when the last time is you spoke to him, but he's a smart guy. Let me tell you what. If
Oh, no, I agree with you. I've spoken to him at length about a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just, and when it comes to research, he's that guy will not stop digging. You know, he is just
Yeah, I got to admire and respect that for sure.
yeah, just incredible. Some of the stuff, like I kept throwing things at him when he first came to us. I'd say, "Well, what about this? Well, what about this?" And then he had something for it, and it wasn't just his opinion. It was based on documents, you know, testimony, just in it, and it's he knew the case inside and out, and it
Mhm.
just blew me away, you know.
Yeah, he looked like that's the impression that I got. Like, boy, this guy really did his homework because it's the same thing like you said. He's got original newspaper articles from when the event happened up to now. You know, he's collected it all and
Yeah,
sort of digested and really really dug into all of it.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Eh,
yeah. He showed me things that I had never seen before. Some of the things I
mhm.
kind of knew about, but other things he threw it out there, and I read it all. I mean, we spent over a week reading all the paperwork, all the documents, watching 100 different interviews, you know, and
Lee
uh,
Guy is asking who actually discovered Aunt Aja Lee. I don't
so
think anybody discovered her. She just kind of came out of nowhere.
yeah, so and don't get me wrong, I'm not positive. Don't quote me on this. I believe she started on Reddit,
You're right. I think you're right. Yeah.
and then from there, I think one of the first articles that was written about her was George Knapp on Mystery Wire.
Yeah, and that you know, that was like a pretty quick article. He didn't really dig deep into her story. He just kind
No,
of he gave like the crib notes, you know, this former DIA, former military woman, former DIA employee said there's aliens in the mountain and she's going to take a team of scientists there.
right?
That was the story, and that sort of got her into UFO Twitter and all the people that talk about UFOs on different social media sites. Everybody started talking about her. Suddenly, she's a big deal. I I don't see how this story has a happy ending for her, though. And I guess maybe talking to her in person a bunch of times and doing that interview, it sort of humanized her for me. And I honestly am concerned for her. Whatever, I'm concerned for her as a human being because I don't think this story is going to end well for her. And you know, I even asked her in the interview, like, how are you going to feel if this all, you know? And she said something about she'd have to go to a guru or something, or yeah. it's going to be bad for her. It's going to be humiliating when there's no aliens.
There's always going to be that core group of people that are going to, go along with whatever she says. I mean, that's just the way it is. It always has been that way. I mean, I like her in general. I don't have anything against her. It's just that I discussed this with my research partner too, and I used you as an example, and I said Stephen had the same reaction that I had when she came around.
Because, yeah, I was like, this is fake. This is so right. Fake. She's fake. Her story's fake. Her friends are fake.
Because we have been conditioned by all of the charlatans that came before her. And so it automatically gives you this, oh, Christ, here comes another one. You know what I mean? And for me, it's, I mean, we've been through this 1,000 times. It's not anything new. But my reaction was a little bit harsh. I could have been a little bit softer with my reaction, but I just kind of got irritated, because I'm so used to it.
Yeah, I remember you and I were both on Twitter like, we would like screenshot something she said and like, this is ridiculous. This alien lady with an alien mountain.
Yeah, and I was just.
But doesn't this say something about the hunger that people are so hungry for news stories that she was able to like catch fire like this and become so big, such a big deal and a big story? It's because there's nothing else going on,
Yeah, it was a huge section of downtime, and she just happened to come in right at the right moment. There wasn't anything going on, and all of a sudden, boom! She's got 6,000 followers on Twitter. And she's all over doing these different podcasts. And I'm like, I think she even did either 1 or 2 conferences. I saw her picture on one above a bunch of other speakers.
Somebody's out of mind's calling us softies. I don't know what she means. What do you mean? Come on, out of mind.
Softies.
Softy. We were both very mean and nasty to her at first. I think, as humans, we gotta evolve past that and go,
gotta tone it.
Yeah. And I mean, I've evolved in my thinking about it to the point where I feel honestly a lot of empathy towards her, and I'm worried that she's gonna have like some kind of, big emotional problems, or just after the humiliation of this doesn't go well for her, but yeah, she put herself in this position, and she is adamantly convinced that this whole thing is real.
Yeah, it's. I'm not going to say I'm not concerned for her either, and you can call it a softie if you want, but I mean, she's a human being. I mean, and she probably believes that this is really what she's experiencing, and I can't say for sure that she didn't experience something out there. Now,
that's what I think. I think she had an experience, but whether it was physical aliens in a physical alien mountain base, or it was a DMT trip, or a psychotic break, or I've even read, Scott, that you can, under weird conditions, you can have a simultaneous release of DMT that's powerful enough to create hallucinations. It happens in heart attacks. Did you know that? Everybody that has a heart attack has a small DMT trip. It's like a defense mechanism. The body shoots that into the bloodstream or the brain to protect you from the trauma, I suppose, or something. They don't really understand why it happens, but I know in cases of heart attacks, people have this simultaneous flood of DMT in their system.
So is DMT like a natural compound in the body?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and DMT is also in very, very high concentrations during near-death experiences. It's like the body releases this chemical that causes, a lot of people think it causes the near-death experience. People see the tunnel and experience other beings welcoming them. It's really called the spirit molecule by some. Yeah.
I have heard that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard that term before.
Yeah, Blinken Liar says DMT, I'll wager. That's my best theory on this woman, Anjali, and what really happened to her. But again, this is my speculation and my opinion. But having experienced DMT myself, I remember when I first heard her story, the first thing I thought was, that's a DMT trip. She saw a purple being? That's a DMT trip. I've done that. I seen a purple being, Scott Browne. But in my case, I swear I did not perceive it as alien or angel or demon. I perceived it as like an interdimensional being that was somehow like the veils of reality got pulled back and there was an extra dimension there that I'd never seen before. And this being and all the beings in there, I'm able to see and talk to them and experience them when I can't normally, because the veils of perception prevented, or to me, that it was an interdimensional being. And the doorway between dimensions, interesting, she mentions doorway, tunnel, was very open because that DMT opened them for me. So to me, it was interdimensional beings that I was experiencing, just beings from another dimension. But I also remember feeling that they were hundreds of times more intelligent and advanced than humans were. I don't know why I thought that, but I know that was a very strong perception. And it's so similar to her story. These are higher beings. They're here to help us. And I got that impression too. I was not afraid of them. Well, a little afraid at first. But to me, it was a strange sort of, like a transcendent experience. I transcended between dimensions and got to meet these higher beings from other dimensions that you don't normally have an awareness of. And it's so, like I said, when I read her story, I went, this is so similar to what I experienced. It's a DMT trip. And I had the same sort of, there was a purple being, and then there were some other beings that were different from the purple being. And it could very easily, I could have interpreted that as, this is one kind of alien, this is a different kind of alien. She said she met 4 or 5 aliens. I don't know,
Right. Well, I mean, what are the chances that because of what's going on with her health and her body, that maybe her body just had this release at that moment, and she, had some kind of trip, and the next thing you know, she was becoming conscious again in Wayne's living room because they brought her back. I mean, is it possible? Yeah, I guess it's possible.
It's more than possible. Yeah.
I mean, especially with the syndrome that she says she has, and I looked into that somewhat, and that I forgot the exact name for it. It's G something syndrome. She mentioned it a couple of times, but it can be devistating. I mean, it's
yeah, absolutely. It's very physically debilitating from what I read, and the other portion of my DMT experience that appeared to me to be very, very similar is at the end of it, I had the sensation of teleporting out of whatever this space was that I was in, where I'm communing with these otherworldly interdimensional beings.
Wow.
And I had the sense of like being pulled right out of that back to reality. Do you know what I mean? Like she says, she felt like she was teleported from the alien base back to reality. I had this perception, and many people do. It's almost like you just feel like you got pulled right back into reality. And
wow.
the trip part of it doesn't end, but it's like the doors closed on that gateway, whatever, the doors that were open to that dimension or that wherever you're experiencing this. It's all perceptions and mind games. And I don't know, but I had that sensation of being just like ripped, pulled right back in. And then I was back in my room, where the experience started. But for a great deal of the experience, and then when I was in the room, I felt like I got pulled into that dimension when the experience started. And then towards the end of it, pulled back into the room, the normal room,
right.
And this is very similar to what she describes. So I've come back to this time and time again with what I believe happened to her, Yes, and Blinken Liar says you may need a pint of ayahuasca on this expedition. For those who don't know, ayahuasca is another very powerful hallucinogen where you're going to see some aliens if you drink it. Absolutely. But it's interesting, ayahuasca has a lot of potential. I have a friend that had terrible addiction problems. He went to South America and did ayahuasca. He'd been in and out of drug rehabs for 20 years. Nothing worked for him. He did ayahuasca once and never did drugs or alcohol again, ever.
I have read a lot about that.
Yeah.
And apparently there's some in the medical profession that swear by it, by treating addiction with this drug.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, apparently, part of that ayahuasca experience is that the spirits or whoever you're interacting with while you're having this experience show you sort of like everything that all the people that you're hurting with your addiction or with your selfish behavior, and you come back much more empathetic and loving towards your family, and you want to be a better person. I think we all need some of that in this world, so I think it should be legal. They should sell that at the 7-Eleven, like,
they should put that in the water supply
instead of the fluoride. Yeah, speaking of conspiracies,
it's not like the world doesn't need more of that.
Yeah, and Walter Bosley says maybe DMT, sure, but not real. Yeah, I believe their experience was probably drug-induced in one form or another, Walter Bosley. But again, this is just my opinion and my speculation, and I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. A little part of me goes, what if we're both wrong, Scott Browne? What if we're both horribly wrong, and this girl comes through with the proof of alien life in a mountain? We're going to be in the movie, Scott Browne. We got to be in the movie, right? They're going to make a movie of her.
If it were to happen and she was to bring some sort of evidence to the public and it was irrefutable, I'm willing to go on the air and apologize to her 1,000 times. I really am, but I mean, based on, 30 plus years of doing this, it's just not new. It's what she's doing and what she's saying is not new. And you know that as well as I do. I mean,
yeah, her story seems to be a combination. Combination of already accepted UFO mythology. She's got the Greys in there. She's got mantid aliens. She's got a secret underground alien base. People already, talk about Dulce and other Antarctic underground bases. It's like a quilt work, right? Like you have a quilt and she took like this one part, we'll put an alien base, we'll sew that in there. Now we got to have the gray aliens, we'll sew that into the quilt. And now she's got a quilt of UFO mythology, most of which is already accepted. And the same sort of this one thing that people do always bothers me when they're like, oh, they're here to help us, the aliens are here to help the human race. Like, I just think that, it's just as likely that the aliens would come here to help us as it would be for them to exterminate us, because apparently planets that are able to support very complex life forms are exceedingly rare to the best of our scientific knowledge right now.
Right.
So what's to stop some warring alien species to say, hey, that planet can support life, complex life forms, but we don't like the humans that are in control of it, so we'll just go exterminate them and take over, right?
Yeah.
These people are all like, they're our space brothers. They're here to help us.
It's funny you say that, because I saw a comment, I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before, where somebody said to, and there's a large section of the community that practices CE5.
There's somebody saying that that's evil now, and you're gonna be possessed.
This one guy made a remark, and he said, "What the hell how the hell do you know what you're contacting? You're making contact, but you have no idea what that is. It could be something that is so bad we could never figure it out. It's beyond human comprehension. So what are you contacting? Because you don't know what it is."
Yeah, it's like the same thing when we were kids. The priests, they would warn us against using a Ouija board.
You're right.
Because you don't know who you're contacting. It could be demons masquerading as spirits.
Yeah, I mean, and you got to look at it this way too. And I posted an article on my Twitter, I don't know, I think it was a couple weeks ago, where this one researcher, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he put together a bunch of cases where there was, you could literally call it sexual abuse in these cases of abduction. And these researchers documented the case and then left certain aspects out of that sexual abuse because they didn't want to report on it.
Didn't want
So,
to talk about that. Yeah.
right, so that's, I mean, you've got one aspect over here where it's terrifying. They're doing really shitty stuff to people. And then you've got this over here where they're the Space Brothers. They're here to help us. Maybe it's two different things. Maybe it's
Two
three,
different species.
right, 3, 4 different, entities. I mean, you never know. Or it could be all within one realm, but part of it's, malevolent and the other part of it's benevolent. I mean, you never know. So we have no idea. So it could possibly be that, and certain people are going to grasp onto it. Like when I had my sleep paralysis back in 87 and I came out of it, I was terrified. I mean, I never felt anything like that in my life. I never had a nightmare.
Yeah, that's
It was
scary.
vivid and it was scary and it hung with me for days afterwards. I couldn't shake it. And I'm not saying that that's proof of something that's, malevolent, but that feeling that I had was like super,
It's terrifying, right?
it was just dread, just pure dread, terror. I came out of it and I said to my ex-wife, I said, I think this place is haunted. And she said, what do you mean? So I told her, how I felt and coming out of it, and that I could sense something was near me. And we just kind of brushed it off. And so I've had a lot of incidents of weird strangeness around me over the years, really weird stuff. And I just get a sense that I don't get a sense that it's here to help me or it's on my side. I kind of get a sense that it's indifferent, to us, and it's not on one side or the other, not good or bad. It's just in the middle. It's indifferent to us. I don't know. I
Yeah,
just,
maybe it's trying to understand the mind of an alien or their intentions. To me, is a lot like trying to understand the mind of God and His intentions. Like maybe
sure.
they're just so advanced that we can't even comprehend what their intentions are, what their motivations are, what they want here. But it
Right.
seems like this has been a mystery that has been with us since the dawn of man, you know?
Mm-hmm. And it's, something that I've always had. Um, when I was 5 years old, they removed me from Sunday school. And the reason that they did was because I kept asking questions. Like the question that got me, you know, removed from the class for good was I went to the priest and I said, how did all these people get here? Because that means that Adam and Eve, the brothers and sisters, would have had to marry each other.
Yeah, I asked that question once too.
And
Priests
you're
don't like to talk about it. Yeah.
right, and you're telling me that it's wrong. And so they took my parents to the side and they said, your son is disrupting the class. We're going to have to remove him. And they took me out of there. But my mother sensed years later, she would tell me that story and say, you know, you're just always asking questions. You're never
What's a good question, right? That would have
never
if the Bible creation story is true, and I don't believe that it is. I believe it's a myth. But if the Bible creation story was true, it would mean that Adam and Eve had children, and then all of humanity really got birthed from incest after that. You
absolutely.
know, and wouldn't genetically we be all screwed up? There wouldn't be
Yeah,
the genetic diversity we have. So
right.
yeah, I've doubted a lot of, and I was the kind of kid that got thrown out of the class too. Asked too many questions, right? I used
Yeah,
to ask a lot about demons and the Nephilim and the giants in the Bible, and And like when I grew up, the Catholic priests were always warning us. There was satanic panic during my childhood,
Yeah.
about they were always warning us that everything's going to get you into a satanic cult and demons and things.
Right.
Even to the point of like, music is demonic. You can't listen to heavy metal. That's demonic. And I just went, I'm not going to listen to this anymore. It's just garbage because they want to control you. And, you know, and I remember too when they were harping on us that everything is demonic and demons and this and that. So I went and found Solomon, the story of Solomon's temple. And like, if demons are so bad, why is the wisest man in the world, Solomon, commanding demons to build a temple for him? And he wrote all these books on how to use demons to do everything you want to do. And I got tossed out. I think I got suspended for that. They sent me home for a couple of days. And so I stopped asking what they thought were dumb questions, right?
Yeah, it's, I mean, I've always had weird problems with that stuff. I used to think about it. My best friend's mother was a catechism teacher. And, I'd throw different stuff at her and she'd be like, I'm just not even going to address that. She wouldn't even give me an answer.
Yeah. No,
You know,
but I mean, by and large, I think religion and spirituality is very helpful to humans. But there's so many contradictions that I sort of have the Jeet Kune Do of religion and spirituality. And that was Bruce Lee's theory, which take that which works for you and discard the rest.
right.
So, and that's kind of a cop out, though, honestly, because you're just making up your own. but it works for me.
You're making up your own philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm not going to start a cult and start taking people into a mountain to meet aliens, though, Scott. Don't worry. I think that's a bridge too far, even for me. So, what's on the horizon for you? For people that don't know, they can see Scott on UFOs Declassified with Erica Lukes. He's got but trust me, Scott Browne is definitely the better looking of those two, right, Scott? Right?
No.
How did you get that gig? How do I get a hot co-host, Scott Browne? I want to know.
We've been friends for probably about 7 years now. So I started out in 2013 where I formed a private group on Facebook called In the Field. And I began to gather different people from around the world and different people in the community to join this group because I noticed there were people shooting video with infrared cameras, full
Yeah,
spectrum
fun
cameras.
stuff.
And so that was something that I felt was tangible, that, people are seeing UFOs and they're talking about them in all these books that I'm reading. I want to see them myself. I don't want to see other people's photos, other people's footage. I want to see it myself. So that was the goal. And then, eventually I ran into Erica. She asked to join. I had seen her on TV already on a couple of different TV shows. And I went, oh, cool. Seems like she's pretty legit. And so we stayed friends. I did a couple of her podcasts. And then it wasn't only just a few months ago where she was kind of down about the show. And I said, why don't we let's go to video. Let's do the interviews with the StreamYard software. Let's do live interviews. Let's get away from the audio podcast.
Yeah, I did, and I got to tell you, I much prefer this format. I don't
Yeah,
worry about editing all the time and putting all
yeah.
these bumpers in and audio this and audio that and music, and no, it's much better now.
And it changed everything. I mean, she was averaging probably 300 or 400 views per episode of the podcast, and now with the video, she averages about 1,000 views per show. So we're hoping to build that up. We're gonna try.
Yeah, that's about where I am, and
Yeah,
it's a this is a grind. To me, I start feeling like I got to figure out what this algorithm wants and feed it what it wants, because it seems like some shows, and I'm still trying to figure this out. Some shows do very, very well, and others do very, very poorly, and I don't know why. Like, here's a perfect example, but some of them go south, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with, like, people have been asking me forever, why don't you do a show on cryptocurrency? Because a lot of people are into crypto. So I have a guy and he comes on and he basically says, all the other cryptocurrency is crap except for mine. Buy mine. And I knew it was a sales pitch. So we cut the interview, and he was getting destroyed. The live chat was destroying him. And he lied straight to my face during the interview saying that this guy's not funding his Bitcoin or whatever. And then it turns out his foundation was funding it. And, so some of them go south. And where we have this interview last night that everybody's still talking about. For those who don't know, I interviewed this Lauren Pritchard, and I'm still digesting that. And a lot of people have different opinions, and I'm of the opinion that was a teachable moment for me, and I have to be a little more discriminating. I can't just jump on air with somebody because somebody suggested I do, or because we certainly don't want to exploit someone that may be suffering from mental illnesses. So I'm gonna be a lot more careful going forward, or try to be.
She I didn't know who she was until I got to your show late. I only saw the tail end of it. So I went back and I watched some more of it, and then I started doing a little bit of background research on her.
It's a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I took a couple years of psychology in college, and
me too.
Yeah, one of the aspects of it was abnormal psychology. So it's
my wife's favorite. She's got a psychology degree, and her favorite thing is abnormal psychology and the psychology of.
It's incredible. It really is. I mean, the directions that the mind can go in. And when you get some kind of certain belief set in your mind, and no matter what comes at you, you cannot tear yourself away. I was listening to her last night, and I was like, where is she getting this information from? I don't understand.
And the lack of proof or evidence, and her inability. I was very struck by her lack of empathy for the beer company that she was accusing of being satanic pedophiles, because I got to humanize them. I talked to some of the people, representatives of the company, and it's just like a small craft brewery, family-run business. They employ like 50 people, and they were shocked by her allegations, because there's no evidence whatsoever of anything like that going on in their business.
And you wonder.
And it caused them a great deal of problems. People are calling them and harassing them.
But where did it come from? Where did she get that from?
It's her own personal belief. Her evidence was there was an Atlas statue in front of the building. There's some kind of mural that she says identifies them as satanic. And there was a girl's hair bow on the sidewalk across the street from the place. That must be a sign that they're all pedophiles. It's just, it was too much for me.
What? It's kind of like it reminds me of the guy. You remember when the whole Pizzagate thing was going on before Q took hold, and the Pizzagate was saying that it was a certain pizza place, and the Democrats were taking the children into the basement and raping them and then killing them and eating them or drinking their blood or some crap like that.
Yep.
And so this one guy gets obsessed with it online, loads up a rifle, goes down there, goes storming into the pizza place, puts the gun on the guy and goes, show me where the damn basement is right now. And the guy looked at him and said, this building doesn't have a basement. And so he set the gun down, and he sat there and waited till the police came, and they came and arrested him. And he said it was the biggest mistake he made in his life. I mean, it fascinates me. That's what can trigger someone to grab a hold of something that is so not real.
Yeah.
Believe in it.
But that specific story tells the danger of these crazy online conspiracy stories and what can happen, because that easily could have escalated into a murder situation, or maybe the guy, if he was a little more mentally unhinged, would have went there and just start shooting employees because he's angry that they're hurting children or whatever, And I
Exactly.
just want to mention, for the benefit of the YouTube algorithm, because you mentioned that word, the gate word, and that thing that people like to eat that's round. We don't mention that here because YouTube does not like it. So I just want to make sure the algorithm understands that we are not supporting that theory. We are saying it's ludicrous and
Yeah.
was ludicrous, and we
Yeah.
are
Absolute
being
garbage.
critical of that thing. Yeah, yeah. It was very similar to this, though. Sort of her theories, which is just like, we'll take this bunch of disconnected evidence that doesn't really mean anything. It's not really evidence, and we'll connect the dots, and we'll just say there's a mural, there's an Atlas statue. Somehow, Atlas statue is somehow a Luciferian symbol now. I've never heard that before, but okay. And a girl's bow, hair bow, on the floor outside the place, and some kind of mural, which I wish I would have known that she said the mural. I would have asked the company for pictures of it so we could look at it. But people buy artwork and put it on the side of their building. It doesn't mean that they're satanic pedophiles.
What I just it's hard for me to grasp. It really is. Like, how do you take all these little pieces that you see, and in your mind you build this fake scenario, and it's the complete opposite of critical thinking, of saying, okay, well, if I saw the bow on the ground, well, some girl dropped her bow, and if I saw a statue and a painting, I'm not seeing these underlying things in a piece of art. So if there's pedophiles in there, what are they doing? Advertising out in front of their building so people know that they're in there? I mean, it doesn't even make sense. None of it makes any sense. See, Lauren.
Oh, sorry. That's when I started getting the inkling that she's suffering from some kind of psychotic. I'm not a psychiatrist, so I'm not going to diagnose her, but I got a bad feeling that she's got real mental issues and should seek help. She claims that there's nothing wrong in her life, so she doesn't need to, but I would still encourage her to do so. And I went away from that feeling guilty and feeling like not guilty, but feeling bad for her, because this is some kind of, like you said, it's some kind of constructed reality that she lives in that's not real. I
Yeah.
mean, she said that she believed some guy had laser gun implants in his arms and was a super soldier.
Yeah, you told me that. What? How do you? I just don't. I don't understand. Like,
She was
are there
she was
certain
very. I do want
people?
to apologize. I don't think she'll ever apologize, but I want to apologize to some of my viewers and listeners because she was very nasty to people in the comments that disagreed with her stories, calling people devils, pedophiles, Nazis, Satanists, and to me, that's a little too far. So I apologize to anybody who had those interactions with her because I felt like people were challenging her stories, but that nobody was being super rude to her in the live chat.
Yeah, that's
You know,
crazy, man. That's crazy. You know, I'm
and
gonna
then
have
what else is funny is that this is again, you never know which way an interview is going to go. There's like 3 or 4 other show hosts that are streaming that and talking about it and how crazy that crazy train went. Like,
to.
and I'm just in there going, I don't know what to say next. I don't know what to ask her next. And then other people made the comment that I should have shut it down when I realized how, wackadoo her theories were. But I couldn't find an off ramp. And every time I tried, it seemed like she said something else that was even crazier than the
Yeah,
last
but I
thing. And
mean, but you were super polite to her. I
I
mean,
try to be, yeah, I try to be nice
you
to
weren't
everybody
you
here
weren't
so
rude
that
to her at all.
we can get nice guests like Scott Browne. I'm happy that you're here, by the way. This is a long time coming. Thank you for doing this. I needed to talk to somebody that I told Scott before the interview, we can talk about anything, but you can't start telling me about your alien baby getting pregnant and getting pulled out your belly, and you can't. You can't. I did that last night, Scott. We're gonna have to
Oh
talk
my
about
god.
other stuff like
I'm
that.
gonna go back and watch the rest of it. I gotta go back and watch the rest of it.
It's going to be one of those ones that I don't know about you, Scott, but I listen to myself almost never after an interview. The bigger ones I did. I listened to the Anjali interview after I did it because I knew that that would be highly scrutinized, and I wanted to see, do I stand by what I did? Could I have done this better, that better? But generally, I don't like to second guess myself. So I'm never going to listen to that again. It's just going to be out there, and it is what it is. And, like it or hate it, and I'm sorry for the people that didn't like it, or, it's one of those things.
Great. I thought it was great.
It's one of those things. And you know what, Scott? Part of me knew, like, this is going to get crazy. I told Kari, the girl who helps with the graphics, I said, this is going to go off the rails real fast, I think, but I'm going down this crazy train because I want to show people it's not just her. There are thousands of people out there that believe very, very similar things just as strongly as she does. They're convinced that all this is real. And I wanted to go, let's go get on the crazy train, push it down that rabbit hole and see how deep it goes. So in that sense, I accomplished, I guess, my mission there. To take that crazy train as far down the rabbit hole as we can get it.
You did, and
where it goes.
And all the questions were, some of them were tough. Some of them were, I mean.
Moody Mongol says she's a super soldier with evil on her mind.
With music.
Twin flame. And that guy that she's like in love, I think she's like in love with him, or she said that's her twin, this Casbolt guy. He's a super soldier. The guy who claimed he has alien laser implants in his arms that can pop out and shoot, and hundreds of other claims. I'm going to do a show on him because that guy's wackadoo cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, man.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I think it's like escapism or some they live in this world where they think they know the truth and everybody else is wearing blinders, right? They know the truth and they know, what's really happening. But it's a delusional fantasy. Maybe it's comforting to them. I don't know. Or they feel important. Did you hear her? She works for some secret military, secret space thing, but she collects donations. So I guess they don't pay her, but she said, I don't pay rent. I don't pay any rent. I only buy groceries, which is bizarro. And she's a bunch of people pointed out that she mentioned that she steals Wi-Fi from her neighbor or something. Like, I don't know. It's just the whole thing was bizarre.
How did you find out about her? I mean, because I never.
She came into the live chat when I was talking about this other crazy girl, Sarah R. Adams, who's a psychic intuitive healer. And that's a great story. I did a whole bunch of shows on her. And then I wanted to test her superpowers. So I sent a mentalist magician friend of mine that's also a hypnotist to pretend to be a terminal cancer patient. And she bought that hook, line, and sinker. And she told him she was shrinking his cancer cells and healing his tumors and, and she's supposed to be, she told me before this that she can diagnose somebody's medical condition from viewing their aura. And she could do that at any distance over the phone, whatever. So I sent a fake terminal cancer patient to her. She didn't know he was a fake terminal cancer patient. Starts telling him she's healing his cancer and shrinking his cancer cells. So we did a show on that. And this girl, Lauren, and hates her. So she comes into our live chat like, I can tell you the real story about Sarah R. Adams. And then it turns out that her version of the real story of this other fraud is that she's a cyborg, an AI cyborg.
Wow.
An AI controlled cyborg. And that was another mistake that I made. And some people have pointed that out, that I shouldn't have brought one girl who may be crazy on the show to talk about another girl that may be crazy. It's like they're both crazy, so I can't, the enemy of my enemy is not always my friend. But, I consider that yesterday was a teachable moment for me, and I'm going to learn from it, and we're going to roll on and keep rolling with the show. Next week, I got to tell you though, Scott, next week, if we need ratings, I need you to talk to Erica because I want her to come on and show everybody her new alien baby bump, right? And we'll follow her alien insemination because I think that would get some views if Erica Luke suddenly got inseminated by aliens. We need the views, right?
Yeah, well, that'll bring them in. That'll
Yeah,
bring him.
and Rebecca Turner says no. Sarah R. Adams is just a con woman. The other girl was just crazy. Maybe right. Right. Yes, the show is still posted. It's still there. You can watch the train wreck of a conspiracy land crazy train down a rabbit hole like you've never heard. It's the video previous to this one. It's right on our YouTube channel here. And the Success is sharing Erica Luke's channel where you can find Scott doing UFOs Declassified. I try to catch up and listen. They do some good work. They're very evidence-based and thorough in their coverage of any story, which is I like. I know when I tune in for one, it's going to be a good long form. Here's all the evidence. Here's what we've dug into. Here's what we're talking about tonight. And can you tell us a little bit about your in the field reports that you do as well?
Yeah, so I just started this. It's kind of just I got a friend of mine that lives here in town. We've been friends for I don't know, about 15 years. And so I never realized that he had an interest in the subject. And so I happened to mention to him, I think it was like maybe a couple years ago, what I was doing online and how I was involved. And that's when he came out with the story and he said, I was living in Phoenix. I saw the Phoenix lights. I was living out there at the time. So he told me the story and I was like, holy shit. So I've always wanted to do some kind of show on my own, but I didn't want to do like an interview show or a podcast. It's kind of, I'm already co-host with Erica. So I kind of wanted to do something a little bit different. So we keep it to the relevant news that's going on. The episode that I'm editing right now is going to touch on Albert Einstein's so-called assistant visiting Roswell with him. Then we're going to touch on the submarine hitting an object in the South China Sea. We do a little bit about the Dulce, New Mexico base. So I want to try to keep it to the relevant things that are going on in ufology, and it's just kind of a casual conversation between me and him. I'm trying to keep it factual, trying to show images to illustrate the case. And, I'm keeping it short. I mean, no longer than.
Yeah, I got to tell you the truth in that I catch more of those than the UFOs Declassified because you keep those a little shorter. Yeah. And I did listen to the episode where he was talking about the Phoenix Lights, original witness to that, and I found that pretty fascinating. Great case,
Yeah, and he actually grew up around military bases. His father was a Marine, and so he got heavily into being able to identify something in the sky. He could tell what kind of aircraft it was, where it came from, and he got deep into that. So when he saw the Phoenix lights, which are not the ones that you see on video that pop on across the sky, that's completely different. Mm-hmm. What this was a V-shaped object, and I believe there's only one like 10-second video of it that someone caught, and it's the only piece of footage that exists. And this is exactly what he saw. It passed over them slowly. It was 5 lights, 1 on the tip, 2 on each, extension, and it slowly passed over them. And he said the same thing, that it was huge. It was blocking out the stars in between, whatever kind of structure was in between each light.
So it couldn't have been flares.
Yeah, and he said, he knew about the flare theory to describe the other piece of footage, and he said this was not flares. So he was describing that rare piece of footage that's out there. It's out there on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people
famous piece of footage, because you're right, it's like the only good,
Yeah, they don't refer to it very much. They're always looking at the other one with the lights turning on one at a time. And it's been debunked as the flares dropping down behind the hill, and they match the mountains to it, and so. But yeah, we're gonna keep doing the news and commentary, and if anybody's interested, please subscribe. I mean, I don't even have 1,000 subscribers, but we enjoy doing it. And we're going to keep
Yeah,
doing
it's a labor of love until it, starts ballooning up, right? And
Yeah, we're gonna try to incorporate what we're working on is a full documentary about Stella Lansing. She lived right here in town with me. She's a famous case. They did an episode of Sightings about her.
I remember that one.
And then also I'm gonna incorporate the footage that we shoot at night. So if I catch any anomalies with the infrared cameras, we're gonna throw it in
I'd
the
be
new.
interested to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm kind of just throwing it all together and trying to keep it on the one show, half-hour format, and boom, we're out of there.
Yeah, I like it though because it's dense and packed with information, and you get it quick. So, yeah. But I like Erica's show too. But I got to do that when I have more time. I've been catching up on podcasts I like when I drive to the cabin or shows that I like. I just put them on the audio only, and you know, and it's a
Yeah.
2 hour drive to the cabin, so I got 4 hours every week there and back to listen to podcasts. And I most of the time I prefer that to music because it helps me catch up on what's going on out there.
Right.
Right?
And the cabin's coming out good. That looks
Yeah,
real.
I gotta finish this. I just finished the sunroom floor, and I'm trying to button that thing up before winter. I got a little bit more to do. Yeah,
You
there's
got
this
the stove in, right?
I got the stove. Well, I have it on the I have to finish the piping, but it's almost, yeah, it's like 20 minutes from being half hour from being done. I had to get some parts because it's going to tee into the one that's in the kitchen and go up and out the top of the roof. And then I just got to wire it and fix the doors. I did a terrible job on putting the doors in the frames because I hate doors and hinges. And I'm there by myself, so to hang a door, I have to like put books under it, right, and hope it's the right
Oh,
level, and
yeah.
then it's not quite right, so then I got to take it off and try it again. And I might have a neighbor that's going to help me hang both doors right. And
Wow.
I'm glad for that though, because that's rough. The winters there are so rough that that'll be a thermal oven on the south facing wall all winter long, and it should provide free heat for the rest of the cabin. We're going to have a door between the cabin, rest of the cabin, and that big sunroom, greenhouse room. So, when it's during the day, if it's warm in there, I'll open the door. At
Now,
night, close the door.
is it a regular wood stove or is it a pellet stove?
Oh no, it's regular wood because I'm not buying wood pellets. We have wood. We're in the woods everywhere, and
Yeah, that's true.
there's
That's
always
true.
fallen trees. I've got 4 or 5 standing dead trees that I'm sure are dead. They're just, and I have kids, so I don't really. The standing dead trees I try to take down because you don't know when it's going to fall if you don't take it down.
Right.
And it's already dead, so I don't feel like bad about taking it for firewood. It's dead. And a lot of that cabin was built just out of the trees from my land, the ones that have fallen. When I got there was a bunch of trees in the woods that had fallen. There was a bunch of standing dead ones, so we started harvesting them and dragging them back to the cabin building site. And yeah, it's been a love of my life. I always wanted to build a cabin like that. So I had my whole life to dream about it. So people are like, "It's coming out great." I'm like, "I've been designing this thing in my brain for 20 years." So now it's just the physical part of it.
Now the slices that you're putting in the floor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So are you're cutting all them slices yourself?
Yeah, with a chainsaw.
Oh, the
So it's like a
chainsaw.
big cherry tree, like about this big, big around cherry tree. And I put something under each side of the tree and just slice it as I go all the way
Nice.
down it was a whole cherry tree. And that actually fell in a storm. And I remember it was kind of pissed when it fell because I liked that tree, you know, it was just a nice tree. It was beautiful, the cherry tree. And so it fell. And then I remember looking at the grain of the wood after it fell. You could see it from the stump, where it fell. And I said, that grain of that wood is beautiful. I'm not going to use this for firewood. I'm going to do something with it. And now it's going to stay at the cabin forever. It's the floor. For
Nice.
those who don't know, we put these log rounds down on the floor and then cement
Yeah,
in between
it
them.
looks really cool. It
Yeah,
looks
it's another nice, weird, cool feature. We have a stone shower stall there that I built. We have stone hearths. We have a stone floor in the one room, and now
damn.
we have this. We have this round log floor. I don't know even know what you would call it, but yeah.
Now you're are you on the East Coast too?
Yeah, I'm in Pennsylvania. I used to live in Philadelphia, but now we live in Warminster, which is a suburb of Philadelphia. It's very nice here because the city was getting crazy.
Yeah,
Scott, it was getting to be just where we lived. It was junkie city, and people
yeah,
would break in your car every day to steal nothing, or God forbid you leave anything in your car of value, they'll break your window to get it. It was
yeah.
terrible. So we decided to move, and I have kids, so you know. I had my youngest son who's like, Daddy, why is this guy camping at 7-Eleven? I don't even know what to say because he's a junkie. I don't know. He's homeless, and I try to explain to him some people don't have a house. And then I think what did it for me is one day I took my kid to the park and there was needles all over the park, like used needles all
Oh
over the park. And I
shit.
just said, it's time to move. I'm not living in a place where I have to worry about my kids and needles in a
Wow.
park.
The thing that sucks is the area that I live in is really really rural. I mean the
I
biggest
would
city
love that. I would love that.
there's probably the biggest city is probably a half hour away from me. But it's still a problem out here. It's still, my best friend overdosed. We were best friends for 32 years and he died in 2004. He overdosed and died. And
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah,
and
heroin
and
especially
it
is.
wasn't the shocking part about it is that he was one of the top athletes in the area, bodybuilder, gymnastics coach. I mean, this was so just out of the ordinary for him. And he was bench pressing and his bicep let go under the skin and rumpled up underneath his skin. So they had to pull it down, staple it to the bone.
Wow.
So he was in a sling for a while, got addicted to the pills, and then moved on to the harder stuff. And he ended up dying.
Yeah, a lot of people get addicted to the pills, and then when the prescription runs out, they try to buy the pills on the black market, but
Yeah.
that gets very, very expensive at $10 or $20 a pill, and you need 4 of them, or 6 of them, or whatever. And
Right.
eventually, people move on to heroin because it's much cheaper. The real problem with opioid addiction right now is fentanyl, because
Yeah.
fentanyl is so
Power.
dangerous. You can
Yeah.
take one shot of it and die and overdose on it. It
Yeah.
takes such a
Very, very,
tiny, tiny, tiny amount of fentanyl can kill you. Like
just a
I heard it said, I'm not sure if it's accurate, but I've heard it said like the point of a pin, the size of the point of a pin can
and
kill you.
I
That
have read
little,
that myself.
yeah. So it's very, very dangerous. So Scott, what is next for you? You're gonna continue this in the field and UFO declassified? You got any other stuff coming up that you're working on?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I'm trying to throw together this documentary about Stella Lansing that I'm going to use within the realm of the UFO news and commentary. And it's kind of tough because she passed away back in 2012. And I'm trying to seek out her children who have moved away from the area. Um, so it's kind of hard to track down sources. And so we're going to keep working at that. And I have I have another documentary that I want to do, and it's about a man in the town over from here that they wrote a book about. I think it's called Satan's Harvest. In the 1980s, he was a farmer, claiming that he was possessed. They have written affidavits from the priests in the area that went to his house, and there was all poltergeist activity.
Oh, that sounds like a great story to me.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is I'm trying to get permission to sit right at the property where it happened. And we're going to do the show right from there. And it's going to revolve around that case. The whole episode is going to
That
be,
sounds like my kind of story. I'm jealous that I didn't
yeah,
get this story first, right?
They followed it in the Boston paper for months and months and months. It went on, and they turned it into a book later on. And
Oh, you know what's funny? I think this is Cedric Taylor is here, the urban entity. You never know who's going to be in my live chat. And Cedric is the mentalist magician that I sent to that fraud fake healer, and he pretended to be a cancer patient. And by the way, Cedric,
nice.
I'm clipping that part of the show where I explain how we punked her, the fraud psychic healer, and that's going to be up later on tonight on our channel here. So I'll send it to you when we get it. Cedric Taylor, the urban entity. He's amazing, Scott Browne. He can hypnotize you and make you do anything he wants. I'm not kidding you. I've seen him do it.
Well, he can hypnotize me and, tell me how to make $1 million.
Yeah, that'll be good. And
I
don't know why, but somebody was commenting in the live chat. Listen, look at this, Scott Browne. This is how rumors start. Stephen must be rolling in the dough. What did you do for a living before you retired? See, people hear I have a cabin, right? And they think that I got all this money. I've been building a cabin for 3.5 years. I go there every weekend that I can, and I work like a dog. Ask anybody that knows that cabin. I'm hand mixing cement like an Amish guy. Everything is by hand that can be. I didn't build that place with money. I built it with time and passion and dedication. And I'm certainly not retired. I try to work every day to make some money. I have children to feed.
You're rolling in the concrete, Steve.
Yeah, and he also said that magicians and performers don't make that kind of money. They do if they're smart magicians and performers, right? I mean, you'd be surprised what a stage magician gets paid in a night if it's a big venue. You'd be shocked at the money. In fact, my father was, very not supportive of that kind of stuff, doing magic shows. You get a real job. That's a joke. You're not going to do that for money. And then, I got hired by somebody that he knew to do a birthday party or something like that. And I got $300 to do like a kid's birthday party. And my dad was like, I don't know what he made take home at the time, but it was something like $500 in a week, And he went, you were only there for 40 minutes. They gave you $300? And I said, yeah. And after that, my dad was a lot more supportive.
Well, I've been an artist since I was a child. So a lot of the graphics that I do, I have the t-shirt site where I sell all my designs on my shirts.
Yeah.
I do
a great artist. He makes cool stuff.
I do like logos for companies, photo retouching, any kind of artwork that you can think of, I pretty much have done. And so when I was younger, I was really into it. And my mother kept pushing me, she'd take me to oil painting lessons and hand me, pads and canvases and pencils. And then there was my father who was like, you'll never make a living off of that. You can't make a living being an artist. Well, when I began to win contests, the next thing you know, the newspaper comes. I'm 12 years old. They do a whole front page article about me. They put all my work on display at the bank in the center of town. Well, guess who's got his arm around his son?
Yeah, and he was proud of you. Yeah.
And it just kind of put a bad taste in my mouth that he was only proud of me because, something like that was happening. But what can you do?
I just know that my father was shocked when he found out how much magicians can make in an hour. Like he had no idea.
Yeah.
He was kind of like pissed, like they paid you how much, yeah. But and I did for those most people know, like I had sort of a computer repair and website design sort of IT business before the pandemic, but most of my stuff was in-house repairs and nobody wants you in their house. So that went to crap. And
right.
I'm rolling with the punches and trying to adjust and find new income streams. I can tell you this, though. I've worked for myself myself and my wife and my children for 7 years. And a lot of that was doing daddy daycare for the boys and working part-time doing my own business. I will never go back to working for somebody else ever again. And I will certainly never go back to a cubicle. Never
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Because if you can make the same money working for yourself, but it's a lot more risky, you know?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I've been out of work since June. So I've been looking for work. I've been trying to, get what I can here and there. I'm collecting, and I ended up losing my job after 7 years of working for this company.
Oh, that's a tough pill to swallow. I've been there.
Yeah, so I've been I have a couple interviews coming up this week. Hopefully something's going to come through.
Well, it's not an employer's market right now. There is so many open jobs right now that companies really have to be competitive to get anybody good. So you got good shot probably, right?
Well, the thing is, for me, when I was younger, I could get 10 interviews in 2 days.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting interviews, but I'm not getting hired. And so I believe it's because of my age. That, they want somebody younger. They know that you're going to be retiring in a few years, so I'm going to be,
Yeah. So
I'll be 57 this year.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I've heard there is a lot of ageism in hiring
and I mean,
decisions,
they
right?
don't, if they
Well,
don't want,
younger people will work for cheaper too, usually,
right.
right?
And they don't want to, if they don't feel like hiring you because of your age, it's almost virtually impossible to prove age discrimination because
Yeah.
they can just say you're not the right candidate when in the meantime they're actually not hiring you because you're older, so yeah, ageism sucks. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I wish you the best of luck. I want to thank you again for doing this. We're way over time here, and I just looked at the clock. I didn't even realize it. See how I'm sorry to keep you here so long. The time
No, that's
flies
okay.
when
That's
you're
okay.
talking to somebody with great similar interests, and we have a lot of them in common. I hope you won't be a stranger and come back. And I'm going to ask Erica to do this as well. I'm trying to get her
Excellent.
in here,
Yep.
but I still,
I
still
love
not.
talking to you, Steve.
Yeah, yeah, she's an interesting girl. I've talked to her a few times on the phone and things about we were going back and forth with this Angeli thing. Rebecca Turner says, "Good show, Stephen. Thank you very much. I'm going to throw you out of here, but I will be in touch. Maybe we can have you come back and give us an update on your documentary projects and some other things after a little while. I would
Sounds
like that."
good. Sounds good.
All right, and we're putting your clothing website in the live chat. We're gonna put your YouTube channels in the live chat. People, I encourage you to go and subscribe. Here's the
Thank
Scott Browne
thank you,
YouTube
guys.
channel, and there's the Erica Luke's YouTube channel, and we've got your UFO clothing. I'm gonna order some shirts that I could wear on the show because I could use some new shirts, and I like UFOs, and Scott does great artwork on a lot of them as well. So it's really, really, I like that kind of stuff. All right, so I'm going to throw you out of here. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate you lending us your time and your attention and sharing with us some of your research and experiences.
Yeah, thank you very much, Stephen.
All right, you have a good night. Well, there we have it. Another UFO report is in the books with our friend Scott Browne from both UFOs Declassified with Erica Lukes and his In the Field reports. I encourage you to check out his work. Big fat. I'm gonna dedicate my total time and attention to the live chat because I do realize that we have been light on that, and some people have noticed, and some people have commented like you haven't been taking as many comments or questions. We're way over time here, but I'm going to take any. Northern UFOs says Steven's laugh is priceless. I get that. I'm trying to figure out how to bottle it and sell it because everybody likes it. And Big Fat Creep says get Lauren back for round 2. Sounds fun. I don't think so. Cedric Talks Entertainment just subbed. Good to hear that, Cedric. And I'm going to be sharing that video later tonight. We're going to have a new production video, hopefully. I don't know why, but the thing crashed when it was rendering earlier, and I forgot to save it. So now I have to re-edit it. It's not a lot of edits, but it's still not good when your video editor crashes as it's rendering something. That means I got to rebuild it, but I have all the component pieces, so it should be up tonight, if not tomorrow. And that will be another video where we bust Sarah R. Adams' fake superpowers. And I tell the story of how we sent Cedric the Entertainer, not Cedric the Entertainer, Cedric Taylor, the urban entity. We sent him in to pretend to be a terminal cancer patient. And this fake psychic healer bought it hook, line, and sinker. It's a great story. I thought it shouldn't be lost to history. It's a way old show and people are missing it. So we clipped that portion out, put some nice music and graphics to it. And I hear that Kari is working on a clip of another show. She's got 10 or 15 minutes of another great story that we wanted to share in clip form. So good to see the urban entity here. And I'd like to get you on for a new interview, Cedric. And we could talk about that, your undercover work busting fake psychics with me, and all your experiences being a mentalist and hypnotist, because that is certainly interesting. Lee Guy says, merchandise idea, Truthseekers lingerie. Don't think I haven't thought of that. And I want to make sure that we do two things. I need to check in with our hat. We put a hat out every night. This is a viewer supported show, and you too can throw a couple of bucks in our hat and keep the show rolling on. Yeah, so there's three ways that you could support us. The first is through Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can become a Patreon member, and we post lots of behind the scenes stuff. We do a video journal about the show every month, sort of behind the scenes, what's going on here. I post some songs every month for the Patreon supporters and more. And we would certainly value your participation in the Patreon. It's $1 or more a month. You decide. And links are in the description of this video and in the About section of our channel. You can also send us a PayPal donation. But please, 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 if you send a PayPal donation, add a note, a little note, and give us what your chat room user ID is, because I don't think you want me thanking or shouting out your real legal name or something like that. Include your chat room user ID in any message you want me to shout out, and we do so. And the third way to throw a couple of bucks in our hat is, of course, the super chats. There's a money button down there in the live chat. You just hit that money button. If you haven't already, it may prompt you to put in some credit card or debit card information, and you can send any amount you wish, and we read every one of the super chats and thank everyone for their kindness, their generosity, and their support. And we're going to do that right now. We are going to read each and every super chat. Every night we read every single super chat of the night. So here's all the ones for tonight. I want to thank Kali Armstrong for a kind and generous $4 Great Britain pound super sticker. And Kali Armstrong again with another $2 super sticker. We have Marina. I don't want to ruin your name, Marina. Oh, I love that name, Marina, too. Mavrogenis. That is a great name. Marina Mavrogenis is here with a kind and generous $4 super sticker donation. We have Fred Tetsu with an Australian $5 super chat donation. Mr. Cambion, Mr. Brown, howdy, Steve. I want to thank you for waking me up on Travis. I was a believer and supporter from the beginning, so I felt betrayed. Yeah, I think a lot of us did, Fred, and I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. I hate it that that story came crashing down. Grew up with it, loved the story my whole life, but I don't want to believe in fairy tales. Ellen Fox with a kind and generous US $4.99 donation says, great show, great guest, thank you. My pleasure, Ellen. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your continued support. We have Lee Guy with a kind and generous $4.99 super chat asking who actually discovered Angeli, and we did go and try to explain that. She just apparently came out of Reddit and then out of nowhere, because of George Knapp's article, got very, very popular very quickly, which I believe is a testament to how hungry people are for any new stories about aliens and UFOs, because there's so few new stories. It seems to me that almost everybody involved in covering UFOs is always talking about things that happened years ago, not things that happen right now. Cosmic Neighbors. This is Ron from Cosmic Neighbors with a kind and generous US $10 donation says, praise the cash. Thank you, Ron, for your kindness, your generosity, and support. And Lee Guy with another one, $1.99. Very generous of you. Pointing out my use of the term wackadoo. Very proud of that term. Some things are just wackadoo. And then we have FGraph72 with a late entry, but we thank him just the same for his kindness, his generosity, and his support. FGraph72 with a kind and generous $2 super chat donation says, for the hat, praise the cash. Yes, praise the cash, friends. We want to thank everybody. The Patreon supporters I want to thank. I want to thank the PayPal donators. We get those occasionally. And I want to thank each and every one of you, both tonight and always, for your kindness, your generosity, and your support with those super chats that really do help us to keep the lights on here and keep this ball rolling forward. I want to thank each and every one of you for helping us to praise the cash, friends. Praise the cash.
You're watching Truthseekers. Praise the cash, praise the cash. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your generosity. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
So, yes, I want to thank everybody for their kindness, their generosity, and their support. Oh, we got another one here. We missed you. Al Warrior, don't want to miss you. Al Warrior with a kind and generous $5 super chat who says, good luck, the cash bro. Praise the cash, Al Warrior. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. I knew you meant praise the cash. I knew it. It's quite all right. I do want to take a moment to also remind you that there is one other way that you could really help us and support us. Because I know I say, brother, can you spare $1? But it's rough out there, which is why I'm here on the internet begging for money. So the other way that you can support us, and it's just as important, if not more so, is to be sure that you like, comment, subscribe, and share these video links with your friends. Share our channel link on your social media. And thanks for helping us grow. It's because of your help. Every time somebody shares a Truthseekers video, a Stephen Cambion smiles. I really do. Every time I see somebody sharing something, retweeting something on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever it may be, I'm happy to see that. And I'm thankful. And I have an attitude of gratitude because all of you who do that are really helping. And again, the YouTube algorithm loves it when you like, comment, and subscribe on these videos. Give it a thumbs up. Smash the thumbs up button. And if you're not already a subscriber, please do smash that subscribe button and that notification bell. Then you'll know when we're doing a show here. You'll get a notification shortly before the show, and you'll get to come here and interact with our live chat here. Interaction is a big part of the live chat. And I also want to remind anybody listening in audio podcast land, you're missing half the fun. We record the shows live right here on YouTube. They get broadcast to YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook live. So you can become part of the conversation. We want that. We want that interaction. So if you're listening in audio podcast land, you're listening to replays, not the live version. To experience the live version, and we want you to, search the YouTube search bar for Truthseekers, one word. Look for me, the strange guy with the sunglasses, your host, Stephen Cambion, and smash that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell, and then you too can come here and be a part of our live chat. When we record these shows, you can ask questions, you can offer your comments or your thoughts on anything that we are discussing here. It is a big part of our show here that we have an interactive show. I'm also mentioned that we'll be bringing back the live call-in show, but I have to say that I'm gonna cheat a little bit. So if you want to do a call in to ask me anything or talk about anything you want, if you want to call into the show, please be sure to email me at truthseekershow@gmail.com and let me know a little bit about what you'd like to talk about. And I will take some calls. Not tonight, but we're going to start doing the calls again. I also have some great news. We just aired our broadcast with Stan Gordon from the previous show that I did, the Midnight Hour, and it was very well received. And people really enjoyed Stan talking about the Kecksburg UFO incident. I have not talked to Stan Gordon in 3 or more years. So given the feedback that we got from a replay, I called him up, and I've got him booked for next month, November 15th at 8 p.m. And he's going to be talking about all of his incredible research into Bigfoot, cryptid creatures, and high strangeness, including UFOs, for the past 3 years. He's got a big update with lots of information and cases that he has personally field investigated for the past 3 years. He's going to be coming to give us an incredible update. You do not want to miss that one. So every single reply and live comment counts. Every last one of them. Yes. And I want to thank Sixth Sense, moderator here, MVP moderator, for all of the work that he does. Dorothy Lang, and you just made me laugh, says, I'm here to hear Steve laugh at stuff. So contagious it is. Yes. Yes, and Sixth Sense, reminding everybody, the higher the interaction, the more likely YouTube is to suggest it, and that would certainly help us. And we say our prayer to the YouTube AI algorithm gods, please find favor in us, share our video, suggest our video, rise us in the search engine, oh Lord and Master, YouTube, Google AI algorithm that is in control of my destiny. In Google's name we pray, amen. That's all I could do, friends. That's all I could do. My life is in the hands of an AI algorithm. So every day I say a little prayer to that YouTube AI algorithm so that it, helps us. All right. So I want to thank our guest tonight, Scott Browne. This was a really enjoyable show for me. Some of them are a grind. And yesterday I was like, how am I going to get through a few hours of this? This is crazy. But tonight was very enjoyable, a little more laid back. I hope that you enjoyed it. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming here. You always hear me say this, but I mean it. I love it when there's an audience, right? And tonight we had a great audience, very, very well attended tonight. I was so happy to see that every time I show up here, I'm happy to see that there's an audience, right? Thank God somebody wants to see this. Somebody wants to hear this. Somebody wants to come along this crazy journey down this rabbit hole with me. And I'm so glad that I get to take you all with me. There's really no place that I would rather be. Dave Bailey is here and says, amen, praised cash. Yes. In Google's name we pray, amen, praise the cash. I'm going to add that, Dave Bailey. And the Sixth Sense is commenting on the Google God. It's the Google God. I'm sorry. That's very accurate, the Sixth Sense. It's the Google God. And Dorothy Lang is here, done and done. I think she subscribed and hit the notification bell. That's another new subscriber. We are happy to hear it. So once again, I want to thank every one of you guys for being here. It has been a pleasure tonight. And again, this is one of those selfish things. Like Scott and I have been wanting to just talk for a while about everything that's been going on. And again, I do this all the time to people, especially if they have their own show. I say, nope. Let's not talk off air. Let's do it on air, and I can share it with my audience. So glad to share tonight with you. No place that I would rather be. So until next time, friends, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you.